Hello, and welcome to another episode of Myths and Stories, a Destiny 2 lore podcast. Today, we're going to attempt to finish up our Saint and Osiris series that we've been doing for the last couple of episodes. Last time we ended, everyone was either MIA or dead or presumed both or neither.
I guess that's accurate, actually.
Depending on what timeline you're looking at, what point in time you're looking at, right? Like this, with the Infinite Forest, it's a timeline thing, so it's all relative to you. Like, do you see them as dead? Do you not see them as dead? I don't know. But anyway, Saint has disappeared in the Infinite Forest. We, as the player outside of Destiny, know him to be dead. But that's not Myth and I were kind of talking about this beforehand. It's not really a known thing in the Destiny universe at this time. He's just presumed to be missing. We had the speakers like regret of what he did to Osiris, and then the follow-up regret of like sending Saint in after him to be like, now I've lost 2 children. Great. Me having a existential crisis of whether or not I hate the speaker now. Still can't decide. And Saint just kind of, Osiris also MIA in the Infinite Forest, just exploring Vex timelines. Like I know that Osiris is very much connected with the Vex, but I didn't really realize until we started doing this series how much the Vex threat was really brought to the forefront because of Osiris.
Mm-hmm.
That's what kind of blew my mind with this. There's always that like mind blowing thing with anything we cover that I don't really put it together towards kind of the end. But that's really the one thing that I never really realized. Like, the whole rest of the city didn't give a shit about the Vex. Like, nobody even cared. Half of them didn't even know. Yeah. And the other half didn't care. And obviously the big threat was the Elixir throughout this whole time in Destiny history was, there's this immediate threat at our doorstep. Let's deal with that first, and then we'll deal with the other one when it gets here. But with the Vex, you can't do that. You can't just ignore the Vex. Like, the more time, and again, time is relative to the Vex. The more time that you give them in your time, that they're just that much exponentially more powerful to themselves. So, and then the Cabal are Cabal. Oddly enough, the Cabal feel like the easiest thing in the world to deal with. Is that just me, or is that...
Well, I think because although, as we saw when we were doing our history on the Cabal, they have a very rich kind of like pseudo-Roman inspired history. Their motivations are very simple.
Very straightforward.
Yeah.
That thing. Not Cabal, kill it. Does it want to be Cabal? No, kill it anyway.
Yeah, like...
Done. That's it. That's the entire motivation. That's it. Yeah. Go forth and conquer my Roman people. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. But yeah, so we're going to start this one off. We're going to do a bit of a time jump. So I guess the ending of the events of our last episode were still pre D1?
Yep, pre D1.
Wow. So we're gonna just basically skip all of D1 and go straight into D2, aren't we? Holy shit.
Yeah.
I knew we were doing a time jump. I didn't realize it was that much of a time jump. But we really didn't have anything. We had no dealings with it. Oh, we had the reef. We had
we had a little bit with the reef. Yep. But even there, like, it wasn't really.
It wasn't
dealing with.
It wasn't like.
Right, and we weren't really dealing with Osiris per se. We were dealing with Vance, who was saying he was acting on behalf of Osiris by like vetting combatants.
Spoiler alert: he's fucking nuts.
Yes, yes.
Vance is just batshit crazy. I'm just gonna put that out there right now.
But yeah, outside of that, like, really nothing happened that we were a part of or that has a direct storytelling to Osiris during this point in time. It's kind of alluded that he's been spending this whole time in the Infinite Forest, occasionally coming out to send messages or receive messages from at least Eris, as we saw at the end of last episode.
Yeah, that's right.
But for the most part, he lives in the Infinite Forest, just monitoring all of the timelines that the Vex are simulating and looking for, trying to disrupt those simulations as much as he can, and at the same time look for weaknesses in the Vex system to try and, defend us permanently from them. But that leads us into Destiny 2, specifically the very end of the Red War. So Destiny 2 kind of vanilla. With the end of the Red War, Gaul's like light form that he takes on seemingly enrages the Traveler, or gives the Traveler an avenue to break out of the light suppressing shell that's been put around it, destroying Gaul, and doing this big light wave across presumably the whole universe.
I mean, those pyramid ships at the end of it were way the hell out there. That blip that comes out, like you don't even see where that blip originates from the viewpoint of the pyramid ships. And if you want to take that in a real time scale, that is a long way. Like we're talking outside Vega 1.
Yeah.
Way out there.
So the Traveler in this moment kind of repairs itself, or reawakens, I should say, and then also has this light wave. Well, the light wave had an effect on the Vex in the Infinite Forest as well. And for whatever reason, something about the Traveler reawakening made the Vex start to simulate, and start to kind of, all of their simulations started to pull towards the same ending, and that ending being their success in their plans to make everything Vex.
So it really just kind of like solidified their original programming.
Yeah, I think maybe it reawakening allowed them enough of an understanding that they could start to more accurately predict like how to get to their end state.
That's interesting because like that light burst, obviously being a paracausal light burst,
Right.
to the Vex, that should have been an anomaly. Like they should have looked at that as just like straight static, essentially, like not have
Yes.
any idea what to do with it. But with how powerful it was, and I presume with how close it was to both. I mean, you got to think it's that close to, well, shit, all three. The Black Garden,
Yeah.
entrance being on Mars, and well, I guess at this time it's been cut off, so maybe not the Black Garden, but definitely Vault of Glass, their primary timeline simulation area,
Mm-hmm.
and the Infinite Forest, both those being on Venus and Mercury. Those have been the first two things hit by this blast.
Yeah.
So maybe like that
So
proximity caused enough of an issue with them that they saw it as more than just static and was able to be like,
maybe
okay,
so.
this might be a thing we need to deal with.
Yeah, and I think if nothing else, it maybe gave the Vex more information about the light as a energy source than they've ever
Oh,
had
sure.
previously.
Looking at it from the
Uh,
mathematical standpoint, from the
right.
physical properties of it, rather than like the philosophical properties of it, the whole
Yeah.
paracausality thing.
Yeah, so they still may not be able to simulate it, and they can't necessarily directly counteract it outside of great feats of dedicated time, like what they did with Saint, and like finding his light frequency, quote unquote. But having being literal lightning rods to this giant wave of energy, I have to think gave them the ability to experience and understand it to a deeper level than they could before.
Sure.
uh but whatever the reason may be, it allowed them to all start to be like, all of their simulations were starting to reach the same end state, and that end state is the one desirable to the Vex.
I don't know why I didn't think about it. It's just for some Vex reason, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it
God
is.
damn it. God damn it.
uh But regardless, Osiris, who is in the Infinite Forest, who has made this place his home, essentially, uh, he is also realizing that all of the simulations are steering towards the same end. And that is very concerning for him. Especially when that end is one of complete and utter Vex domination, and the universe is dark, essentially, outside of just the glowing eyes of the Vex. So Osiris notices this. He attempts to send his ghost Sagira out of the Infinite Forest to go warn the Vanguard, because he has come to the conclusion that despite his experience and his many years in the Infinite Forest and with the Vex, he is going to need help with this. So he sends Sagira out to go find Ikora. Sagira is, if I recall correctly, she's like shot in transit, like as she's
Oh
passing
yeah.
through the
Is that
portal to
is
get
that that
out.
opening cinematic to
Yep,
Curse of
to the
Osiris?
Curse
Yeah,
of
and he's
Osiris.
like they're going through what I always thought was like a vault encounter or something like that. That's being simulated in there, and like Sagir is like pushing the guns out of the way, like being super
Yeah.
cute about it, and then like Osiris cheats. He goes Dawnblade and then goes direct, like slams it in the ground, goes directly into well, whatever. Okay, maybe it wasn't a well, maybe it was just Phoenix dive, whatever, doesn't matter. He cheats. But then he does his little cube thing, right? His little like click,
Mm-hmm.
click, 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 and then opens the little portal and shoves her out. And as she's being shoved out, she's shot, and so she just kind of like falls into the sand of Mercury. Or
Yep.
yeah, Mercury. Yeah.
Yep. Her shell is discovered by members of the Cult of Osiris who have set up shop on Mercury, and her shell is then delivered to Ikora. Ikora calls in the Guardian.
VIP 2014, baby.
Yep, the player guardian, to help her investigate, because she knows who Sagira is. She knows this is Osiris's ghost. She knows that this is not good. Because to be to be specific, Sagira is like, she's not dead. She was shot and injured, and is like, I guess, is the ghost version of comatose
That's what I took
at
it
this
as.
point.
Yeah.
She's not dead and shattered. It's not like her light is gone. It's just she's not like, someone found
Because
the
it's not.
off switch.
It's not
Essentially.
even like she's like suppressed or anything like that. Like it's not there's no device attached to her that's suppressing light or anything like that.
Yeah.
It literally is like that. It's like an off switch. It's like they hit her just right to like shut the mechanical portion of it off, but there's still a consciousness in it.
Yeah. So, regardless, I'm not going to go through everything that happened in Curse of Osiris from our point of view. But from Osiris's
If you
point of
want to, you can
view,
go play. Aw.
yeah, I know. Yeah. The downside to the DCV.
It
But
is.
so we eventually get Sagira in working order again, using our ghost as like a pseudo body for a little
I
bit.
loved it. She takes over and she's literally just piggybacking the entire time.
Yep. We get to the Infinite Forest. We find Osiris. He explains the situation, explains that the mind, the Vex mind that's kind of controlling and allowing the Infinite Forest to dedicate itself towards this simulation, is a Vex mind called Panoptes, which directs the Infinite Forest. We talked much more in depth about Panoptes and the Vex minds in general in our Vex series.
Go check them out.
Yes. But regardless, we are traversing the various simulated timelines of Mercury as we're going about how to find where Panoptes is in the Infinite Forest, and then B, stop them.
Yeah.
As we are going through those timelines, it's discovered that there is a old Vanguard signal that is being broadcast from within the Infinite Forest that finally gets picked up as we're hopping around. We follow that Vanguard signal. And I should preface, this is after the defeat of Panoptes. We're successful in finding Panoptes, killing him, and essentially it boils down to, Osiris gets Sagira back in her true form, and he's like, cool, timeline's back, essentially. Back to where it should be in his eyes. But we pick up this old Vanguard signal in the Infinite Forest. We follow it, and we discover that we discover traces of light energy that our ghost seems to know matches Saint 14, who, as we know from our previous episode, had gone missing in after the Battle of Twilight Gap and had never been heard from since he left to go find Osiris. Well, our guardian tracks the signal, eventually tracks it down to a specific area within the Infinite Forest, and we defeat some guardians of this Vex guardians of this. If I recall correctly, it looks very similar to kind of the Vault of Glass, like triangle door.
I was gonna ask, was it? I remember it being a very triangle-like door that he's like hidden behind.
Yeah. So we are able to get past that door as part of a special mission during Curse of Osiris, and we see there suspended above hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of bodies of Vex frames, the corpse of Saint 14, still holding on to his shotgun, and placed in this monument in a sense of reverence by the Vex.
That still blows my mind. Like, he's in here as a piece of reference by the Vex, and the Vex are actively guarding it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That like, if that doesn't say something about him, because to the Vex, anything and everything is just like it's either is it Vex or is it not. If it's not, I don't give a shit about it. Like, it doesn't matter. It needs to become Vex. But for them to have this level of like reverence towards him, that like really points to like how long Saint was in there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, no breaks, killing Vex.
Yep. So we, the Guardian, discover his body, and now that we know where it is, we're able to inform Osiris as to its location within the Infinite Forest, so that he can also come to that designated spot and see it for himself. So we are the player guardian, take the perfect paradox from the body of Saint 14. This being the first time that we have seen that gun, at least as far as our guardian is aware at this point in time. Hence why it's a paradox.
All relative.
Yeah. And Osiris comes and visits Saint's body, and we see that interaction in the final entry from the Accolades web lore that we've been reading through bits and pieces of for the last 3 episodes. And it's a good
web lore.
It is a good web lore. But the final little entry of it says this: Panoptes, the infinite mind, was dead, and so was Saint 14. Osiris looked down at what remained of his friend. The infinite forest shimmered around him. The Vex had built a dais to carry the body of Saint 14. The Titan had been stripped of light. There was no obvious killing wound on his armor. Perhaps they had even repaired it. Sagira ran a beam of light across the body. Saint carried these ribbons everywhere, she whispered. He called them his accolades, Osiris replied. What were they for? Osiris was quiet for a long moment. He sat staring at the tomb. I never asked. And that's the end of the web lore.
Oh. Why we gotta start off sad?
We're starting low, so we only have up to go from
up.
here.
There we go. I like it. Yeah, so this if I'm not mistaken, this whole series of events was part of the original crafting system in D2. which was very it it wasn't really a crafting system, but it like you could tell like the bones were there.
Right.
You had to collect these items, and depending on which gun you crafted would unlock subsets of guns, or not subsets, subsequent guns, the following week. So it was time gated week by week, but it was also like gun gated. So like the first week you had 3 options to choose from. Then from those 3 options, let's say you chose option 3. The next week, options maybe 4, 5, and 6 were available, but 1 and 2 were not available anymore. You had to wait for them to roll back around. So then you go pick option 4. Well, now the third week, now only option 9 is available. 7 and 8 never opened up because you didn't open 6 or 2 or whatever. So it was a really neat system. But then all of these guns were like very Vex design. It was like what like the was it like the King Queen Jack of 3 or whatever, or all these really neat like card based stuff. Uh, Naming system. Then like the final reward was putting perfect paradox back together.
Yep.
And then, like I said, for you to have picked up whatever pieces remained of it from this tomb, and to then be like, "Hey, Osiris, this is what I found," and for him to come visit, like again, and this is something that Myth and I are kind of struggling with on trying to figure out how and when this happens. They're still not a couple at this point. They're still just kind of
Yeah.
like brothers in arms, and like for Osiris to have come to Saint's tomb with such reverence and stuff, like maybe that was a trigger point or something that was like, I need to get this man back. Like this man meant more to society, even more to me than anything, and now it becomes like a quest for him to do.
I do think that I think this is kind of a turning point from Osiris's point of view, at least, to be like, you know, there this is a friend he lost that presumably he did not know had died until
Right.
this moment, because he's been in the Infinite Forest the whole time. Um and like, it's one of those times where especially as a guardian, I feel like it would be easy to fall into the trap of, got all the time in the world to explore, relationships with people, or like to say that thing that I need to say, kind of thing. And now suddenly that opportunity, despite being immortal, generally immortal, is not there anymore.
Yeah. Like I said, we're gonna start this one sad, so we got an up to go, right? Like
Yes.
we can go up from here.
Yes. And I think we see a little bit of that kind of sentiment from Osiris, in that one of the ways that he grieved the loss of Saint 14 is he wrote some poetry.
No shit.
And we actually can see one of those poems on the lore card for the Hyperborean Pinion Sparrow.
Okay.
So that poem reads like this. In a land of endless sun, amidst the mountains tall and old, the noble king of beasts and air guards a treasure trove of gold. With lion's pride and eagle's eye, he soars above the fields of strife, with his companion sharp and bold, bound by sacred oath for life. And when he meets his end too soon, his loving mate is left alone to guard a hoard of little worth and a cold and empty throne.
I thought we said we were going up.
Well, yeah.
You can't keep sadding.
I didn't say when.
Fair enough.
But yeah, so this, and at the end of this lore card, it very specifically states, penned by Osiris in memory of Saint 14, lost in the Infinite Forest. So this would have been shortly after the discovery of Saint's body in the forest.
And it's interesting there because even in that poem, he uses the term lover. So it's again kind of thinking back to that idea of like maybe there were feelings that were just never expressed.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but now that he is gone, now you're like now it's regret. Now it's I didn't do the thing that I said I was going to do because I had eternity. I was immortal. Well, spoiler alert: Guardians are not immortal. Like
Yeah.
we do have an end.
Yeah. That and the Osiris had always been driven by this like I can't worry about these problems because the Vex are out
Yep.
there. Like there's always this looming threat of like I need to deal with that before I deal with anything else. And
Yeah.
you know, it could have again just another thing to that would have made it easy to delay.
We see that much regret coming from Osiris. Again, this is jumping time a bunch, but like after Lightfall, like
Yeah.
he has a tons of like dialogue that he's just like, yeah, I should have spent more time. I wish I had not focused as much, especially in like, God, when was it? Was it just these last couple of seasons where he was like, I shouldn't have focused. If I hadn't have focused as much on whatever, like I would have had more time for what I should have had time for, which is my friends and family and lovers around me.
Yeah, it definitely has been a recent theme of like losing the rest of your life to an obsession of some sort.
Yep.
Even if that obsession was of, spawned from good intentions. Uh, but so, yeah, the Osiris, comes to terms with the loss of Saint. One of the ways he grieves is he writes out this poetry. Um, and then he does a very warlock yet I think very human thing.
I was gonna say the other thing he does is build a literal time machine.
Yeah, the other thing he does is he goes, "This is a problem. I'm going to fix it."
You stupid warlock. You can't do that. I get it
So,
though. I think he might be
yeah,
a titan at
exactly.
heart too. Like he's I get it. I get it.
Well, I think in a lot of ways he blames himself
He
because
does.
Saint was looking for him,
Yeah.
and Saint was in the infinite forest, and Osiris never,
Never came
their
across
their
him.
paths never crossed, and he was
It
never
is
able
it
to help.
I mean it's in the name. It's an infinite force. There are infinite
Right.
number of paths to go down. Like to try to explore that will take an infinite lifetime. Like eventually if you just get pinned down by billions of Vex, you're gonna have to take a break from exploring timelines.
Yep. So, but yeah, so he has his time, his time to grieve and be sad, and then he channels that into like, no, I'm going to fix this. This is my mistake, and I'm going to fix it. And so he creates the sundial.
You
Um,
stupid warlock. Stupid.
uh, and we get to experience his kind of finishing of and using the sundial via a web lore just titled The Sundial. Um, so that web lore goes like this. Sometime after the death of Panoptes, Osiris stepped back to look upon his work. It towered stories above him. The sundial was complete, a shining beacon in Mercury's sky. He needed only to seal the chronometric core, which lay bare at the center of the spire, and activate the arc conduits that ran for miles under the planet's surface. Sagira circled the superstructure, scanning every inch of it. I don't know about this, she said. I have full confidence. It's your design. That work was theoretical. If the Vanguard find out what you did to build it, if this works, the Vanguard will find out either way. Sagira darted down as if to dive bomb her chosen, but stopped just short and met him eye to eyes. I know you feel guilty, but there's no telling what will happen if you turn this thing on. He's dead because of me. I have made every precaution. I've had my echoes check against trillions of disaster scenarios. He turned to look at the fluctuating glow of the exposed chronometric core. Mercury is the only planet that will be affected, because that's where he died. Where will this stop? Who else will you decide deserves a second chance? You know, I cannot make another bargain like this one. I just want to make sure you know that. Osiris blinked. She rarely spoke this bluntly and without irony. Hey, 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 came a far-off echoing shout. No, that ain't right. The drifter came into view from behind one of the sundial's auxiliary pylons, pointing a jabbing finger at Osiris's machine. Sagira narrowed her eyes at the rogue light-bearer and lowered herself to Osiris's shoulder. Why is he here? She asked quietly. I asked him to consult on the engineering work, Osiris replied, crossing his arms. You sicko, the other man declared, walking a circle around the warlock, his eyes darting along every surface of the sundial around them. As the drifter rapped his knuckles on the north pylon, he mumbled, Ghost, do the numbers. An armored ghost with a red eye unfolded out of transmat and began a scan pattern on each of the sundial spires. Drifter walked to the central spire and put his ear up against it. The core, he said, leaning close. His eyes darted back to Osiris. It's whispering. Osiris's expression didn't change. His arms didn't uncross. We'll seal the core away. I understand the ramifications. Good luck keeping that contained. Not something I would bargain with, Hotshot. Drifter stood up and beckoned his ghost with 2 fingers. It floated earthward and unleashed a holographic array of statistics along the sundial deck. The red light reflected off the drifter's eyes as he drank the numbers in. Your math checks out, he said finally, as his ghost folded itself away. It'll work. Will you find him at the exact moment that you need? No guarantees. Let me worry about that, Osiris said. Just one more question, then. Why all the fuss? I owe him. Oh, I owe a lot of people, Warlock. You're opening the gates of hell with a Vex key. When the Traveler brought me back, I had no friends, no family. Ain't no one had anything in the Dark Age. But Saint was always there, and I saw him grow from a neophyte to a demigod. Drifter shrugged. We've all had to flex a little, win a gunfight or two. That's why we're still here. We all gain strength, but some light bearers never grasp a wider view of the world. They're happy to stick to their ways, languish. Drifter chuckled and spat, saluting Osiris with a single finger. Of course, you do you. Drifter smirked. Saint faced his fears and failure better than any of us, and never strayed from his path. He should get a chance to walk to the end. He already did, but I'll leave you to your devices, you lunatic. The drifter turned, hands in his pockets, to leave. If you short-circuit the universe, though, you're on your own. If I make a mistake here, you might cease to exist, Osiris replied. Maybe that wouldn't be so bad. We haven't talked about payment. If you live through this little experiment, you can be sure I'll be back to collect. Go home. There's a guardian you should meet. Osiris said. Yeah, hero, red war, can't wait. And with a blink, the drifter was gone. We have a time skip, and then a dozen echoes flanked Osiris. The sundials spun and sparked above them, around them. His echoes vanished in staccato bursts of chronometric arc, stepping not elsewhere, but elsewhen, as the sundial fell silent. Osiris could still see and feel through them as 12 of him walked the corridors of time. Where those halls were intersected by the Vex network, his echoes hacked hobgoblins and minotaurs apart using solar swords powered by sheer will. They hid their shadows and stood still, unblinking, to avoid the network mines. Together, they pushed to corners that gave way to the Mercurian Dark Age. From there, they separated, entering myriad moments of Saints' visits to Mercury. An echo encountered a battle-hardened Saint at the mouth of Caloris Basin. Saint was a member of the Pilgrim Guard, and he and his fire team descended on batteries of Vex goblins, the bloom of heavy gunfire leading their way. This Saint was too early. The echo does not approach them. Neither does the echo who watches in a dark corner as Saint's jump ship lands at a lighthouse at the Caloris Spires. Its interior is cloaked in shadow. The cult of Osiris's retrofit of the structure isn't due for another age. Saint comes here to keep it clear of Vex attempting to reclaim it. He lights the darkness as he tears Minotaurs apart with his solar fists. An echo crouches on a cliffside out of sight. As far below, Saint uses his solar light to cut through the armor-plated Mercurian soil. Solitary stones line a series of holes that stretch for a dozen meters to either side. An echo hides in burning light as Saint works shoulder to shoulder with the Sunbreakers to construct the burning forge. Their hammering and soldering with solar knuckles and sledges draws a silent parade of Vex to the building site. The Sunbreakers take turns stepping away from construction to dismantle the intruders using the same solar implements. Yet another echo spies Saint from a vantage point on the high plains of the fields of glass. The Titan fights for his life against purple-bannered Fallen, bearing the same symbol as modern Dusk soldiers. They are the House of Rain, the lowest house. The burning camp around them is curiously absent of bodies, but Osiris has heard Saint tell this story before. One of Saint's first missions for the Speaker brought him to Mercury in a failed attempt to retake that planet for humanity. They had not known at the time that the Vex had already started to transform the garden world into a machine. House Rain had followed Saint's jump ship and waited till the expedition had made camp. Then the Fallen had annihilated the cultist that Saint had been charged to protect, and had beaten him to an inch of his life. The Echo lives that story firsthand now, and finds himself looking away at the terraformed vegetation instead. It's already half machine, grass and metal blades growing beside each other under his boots. A ketch roars down from the sky and rains heavy munitions on the battlefield, and the Echo's vantage point fills with rolling clouds of dust. The Echo takes his leave. He's seen enough. Osiris's echoes scour Saint 14's timeline on Mercury, but the corridors of time refuse to give way to the moment they need, the moment that Saint and the martyr mind met in the depths of the infinite forest. The echoes work tirelessly for weeks and then months in the space between moments. In desperation, he splits the dozen copies into many thousand more as the work continues fruitlessly. One echo stays for years against Osiris's orders. He has never lost control of one before. He didn't think that was even possible. He and the echoes are the same. He feels this aberrant copy lose his sense of self. Another few years in, and he feels this echo press the touch of cold metal to its head. And then he feels nothing from it. Two echoes wander into the corridors of time with orders not to stop. Brute force has worked for Osiris before, after all. To this day, he can still feel them, and their search continues. The rest eventually succumb to Vex security measures where the network intersects with the corridors of time. Even Osiris's light has its limits. But none of the echoes ever approach Saint. They never find the right moment. Time passes, and Osiris sits quietly at the base of the sundial. No time had passed for him since the machine's activation, but he had just lived a multitude of lives all the same. Sagira hovers over his shoulder and asks, hopefully, "Did it work?" The warlock stands and makes his way to the southern border of the sundial. "Shut it down. Wrap everything in stealth skin. Let nothing and no one find it." And he disappears into an incandescent flame. And Sagira stares at the sundial's central spire. "Damn it," she whispers. And that's the end of that web lore.
Dude, we got so much to... Dude. All right, first off, does the Drifter just flip him off?
I mean...
Gave him a one-finger salute?
Yeah.
There's only one... That is one definition for one thing, and that's the Drifter flipping him off. Second off, what the fuck is this thing made of? What is in this core that's whispering? Is that darkness?
Well, and this is something worth pointing out.
You had to get something from the Drifter, so it had to have been something weird, and the only weird thing, that was a stupid thing to say. One of the weird things Drifters has is just fucking darkness.
Yeah, so it calls the core a chronometric core. Chronometry.
Time, metric meaning
is the science.
Time.
Yep, exactly. It's the science of the measurement of time.
Yep.
So
if it's time related, I got you, baby. I love time travel shit. This is it. I got you.
The other interesting thing here, so whatever's powering it is whispering. So yes, I think dark in some way. The other piece of this, though, Osiris has not made reflections. He has made echoes.
Interesting. Because for the Infinite Forest, it was all reflections. Here, that's actual echoes. Like, I guess what's the difference between the two?
That is a very important distinction, because the only other being that we have ever heard of making echoes is Oryx.
Dude, this got to be taken. This got to be taken something. He's got to be working with taken. Sorry, not taken. Darkness. This core has to be darkness, and Osiris has to be actively using darkness. So this might have been the first time we've seen a Guardian use darkness as a power. Yeah,
and to have the ability to make originally just a dozen, but then literally thousands. Like,
one of them lost control. Like, one of them went rogue. Is there just one out there? Just fuck. Like, are we gonna come across like a giant holy Osiris and be like, fuck, now I got to deal with this?
Well, there's one of them that lost its sense of self and committed suicide.
Oh shit, I didn't catch that one. I heard the lost its sense of self. I didn't realize that that's what happened in that.
felt the cold press of metal against its head and then felt nothing more.
That cold metal was a gun barrel. Yeah. Holy shit. Okay. I caught that, and I was like, did he just put on a helmet and like block himself out? Okay, that's fine. It's whatever. He's just wondering. Nope, he killed himself. That is holy shit, Myth. You can't. What happened to Up?
But there are supposedly there are 2 echoes that he still feels that are just out there.
Just going, just like mission not done. Continue forward.
But needless to say, he is unsuccessful in finding the exact moment in all of time, in the infinite forest of all places, that he needs.
I love afterward his excuse is like shove it under the bed and don't tell mom and dad.
Kinda, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like cloak it in stealth tech. Don't tell anyone. Don't let anyone find it. Like, dude, mom and dad are gonna clean your room eventually. Like, when they sell the house and you move, you're gonna have to fucking like. What are you doing, guy? You stupid warlock. I am Osiris. Cute. You're stupid.
Well, it's not the Vanguard that finds it.
That's what I'm getting at. You see, like, if it's not mom and dad that finds it, it's the random dude that broke into your house that finds it. Like, cool. Let's put this in the hands of a bad guy.
So the sundial did sit there undiscovered for a decent amount of time. But with the season of dawn, it is rediscovered by a group of scions. And so we have a web lore of them discovering it titled Sisters. This one should be shorter than the last, and it goes like this. The 3 sisters arrived on Mercury. They searched for the infinite forest, and through it, a path to their people's salvation, a simulated future where they were free from the cabal. Instead, they found something else. Small disturbances, said the oldest Oslicht. Little currents in this timeline. Can you see them, sister? I can taste them, said second-born Tazarok, the hungriest. I can feel the edges. Third-born Nyrule, the quietest among them, reached her hand out to test the air. As can I, she said. And something else. The source is disguised. The technology is human, but refined. Surprisingly so. Disable it, said Tazarok, who was impatient. It is leaking. I wish to see what it is. Nyrule fluttered her fingers across the sleeve of her suit. She worked for 1 day and 1 night through the passage of time was hidden by Mercury's perpetual light, and all the while she could feel the restless impatience of her sisters. Until a strange device shimmered into existence around them. They looked up the length of an enormous golden spire. It whispers, said Tazarok. Then block your ears, said Oslicht. Do you see the potential in this? Chaos, said Nyrule. No, Oslicht said, opportunity. See how it tugs at the fabric of our time? Can you see the seams? Indeed, the seams were sewn tightly shut, but a skilled hand could find them. A skilled hand could rip every stitch. All 3 sisters could feel it. It will take time to activate, said Nyrule. Someone has protected it from meddling. We will have time, said Oslicht. We will open the past and change the course of Gaul's fate, anticipate his mistakes, undercut his advisors. Why? Said Tezzerak. Because he could be swayed to our purposes, said Oslicht. He was a fool, but he could be puppeteered, led to a more advantageous downfall. But why not go back further? Said Tezzerak, eager. To dash the whelp's skull in the pit before he crawls out onto a throne. Risky, said Neril, shaking her head. Why not tear into the future instead and make our attack where the Guardians cannot predict it? Predictions are not their strength, said Tezzerak. And yet, they have built this, snapped Nerul. Sisters, we needn't argue. This device will let us walk through the future and past both. And so, we will cut the most advantageous path, wherever it may be. And that's going to be where we end this web lore.
So these are the three scions that you end up facing in that season, right?
Correct.
Those are the one was an arc, one was a void, one was a solar, and then like the final battle was like you face all three of them in like little bits.
Yep.
Yeah, that was really cool. If you weren't there for that, that sucks because that was actually really cool little encounters. Do you think they discovered this just specifically so you could get your sidearm? Is that?
I mean, if that's what it took to get Breachlight in my hands,
it's that canonical.
Then that's what happened.
Oh shit. So again, this it's a literal time machine. Like they are going to go. They find it. They're going to go in the past and just like rewrite history. Yep. Our history, like not just like. Because, like, again, it's all ripples, right? Like, that's every time people talk about timelines and stuff, like, this effect caused that effect, caused that effect, caused that, it's all ripples out. So, like, to undermine Gaul or to, like, change, like, sway his path and have them free or have them have more control and them being the actual masters and the Cabal people being the puppets. Yeah, no, this is, and then, of course, then that brings up other ideas of, like, well, let's just kill him before he's born. Let's kill him in the arena. Like, why not do that? Like, okay, well, that's a neat idea, but maybe that screws up more than we want it to screw up. Like, we want to be precise and stuff.
Oh, I was gonna say the other thing is that although they may not realize it at this point in time, Osiris very specifically put in failsafe so that it can only interact with the time of Mercury.
Right. So like they don't even know like but and they don't know that.
Right.
And so because of that, like they don't realize that like they can mess with it and screw with it and all this stuff, but they are only going to get things that affected Mercury. And the only thing that as well, I guess that's an interesting point too, because the only thing related to Gaul that affected Mercury was the Almighty.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose that's
so that
true.
That would possibly be the only thing that they would have any type of sway over, in which case, cool, they either just shut it down or let it do its thing. Either way, it doesn't really help them. But they don't know any of this, obviously, at the time. Like,
yeah.
So them discovering it, as much as like we talk about it being like, oh my god, this is a bad fucking thing, it's really not as bad as it seems. So okay, well then let me retract an earlier statement. Dumb warlock, not stupid warlock. Dumb warlock, selfish warlock, selfish yes. Dumb warlock, not stupid. That's the whole like intelligence and wisdom thing, right? Like, he knows it's a fruit, but he knows not to put it in a fruit salad.
Yes, street smarts versus book smarts.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
But needless to say, they have discovered the sundial. They have made it operational. And they're now messing with time, which even if it's restricted to only events that happened on Mercury, still not a great thing to have happening.
Sure, sure. No, still bad. Like,
Still very bad.
but
Uh,
not as bad as I was thinking it would be.
yeah, it's not. It would be much worse if it was a time machine that could travel anywhere in space as well. But
You mean a
not the case.
time and relative dimension in space machine?
Yes, that exactly.
See what I did there?
I see what you did there.
TARDIS. Yay me!
But needless to say, this does not go unnoticed when they start messing with the sundial.
I'm still kind of like focusing on this darkness thing too that's powering this thing. Like,
Because even they were hearing the
like it's
whispers.
whispering to him. So like there, it's. So that's where like I'm curious if it is darkness. If they're here again, trying to like break this down on a logical step by step thing. Scions are, it's in their name, psionic. They
Right.
are attuned to psychic abilities. I'm still confused at how they're able to use arc and lightning and void and solar and all that
Well,
stuff.
I think it's important to note that those those forces exist in the universe
Oh,
without
sure.
light. Light
They
just
don't
lets
have to
us
be.
create them from nothing.
That's what it is. They don't. They are physical forces, which is
Right.
why they are light forces. But they are not inherently like uh, gravity isn't inherently paracausal.
Yeah.
Electromagnetic isn't inherently paracausal. We just manifest it that we use the light to manifest it. Okay, okay, that
Yeah.
makes more sense now. Saying it out loud like that may help make more sense. Um, but they are, but again, kind of like circling back, they aren't really the scions aren't paracausal, but they are psionic. So I think that this would lend more to the darkness thing of this being a darkness entity.
Yeah.
Maybe not an entity, darkness.
Artifact.
Sure, it's
Something. Yeah.
something steeped in darkness. The energy source, um, like one of like oh god, what are they called? The bits of Nezarec, the canopic jars. Those are
Yeah.
super
Yep.
steeped in darkness power. They are not inherently dark. Um, I guess they are because it never doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Uh, so yeah, so they're hearing these whispers again, furthering that idea that this is a darkness powered thing. So that's I don't know. That still just like blows my mind that Osiris is willing to take that level of risk just to bring Saint back. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why would a light bearer who up until this time, so again thinking of timeline wise, the only so drifters around at this point in time, this is this beyond light?
No. This would have been
Shadowkeep?
after Forsaken.
After Forsaken, but I think like season wise, oh, because this isn't actual season of the Dawn yet.
Right. Because when he created the sundial, it was shortly after after Curse of Osiris. Because he mentions like Drifter hadn't even met our guardian yet at that
Right.
point.
Right. That's right.
Um,
That's right. That's right.
but he and Osiris knew each other somehow prior to Drifter starting up Gambit.
Okay, so that actually helps me too, because I was thinking like when Sagira mentions like who do else do you decide? Like I thought that was a poke towards Cade, saying, well, shoot, are we just gonna bring Cade back for the hell of it? But at this point in time, Cade hadn't died yet.
Yeah, I think it's more of a broad statement of like, okay, you save one person, now, are you going to go try and save anybody
Right.
that dies before their time kind of thing.
And who deems who's allowed to be brought back and who's not. Like now
Right,
you're
right.
creating a whole set of like he's being Osiris. He's
Yeah.
creating a whole set of rules for himself that only he's allowed to change and modify and work with.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's again, it not to pick on the speaker a bit, but the speaker is kind of right. Like to have a guardian to kind of like insert himself at that level of um godhood. I mean, that's kind of what it
Well,
is, right? Like he's borderline
yeah.
playing God at this point.
Yeah, he never, I think, he never seems to think of himself that way,
Sure, sure.
but yeah, like it's very easy to see when you have someone that can create, literal copies of themselves either via reflections or now echoes. Can be on can be on all fronts of a battlefield at once, is highly intelligent about, the interworkings of how to use his abilities to the everyday civilian. Like,
That looks like a
yeah,
god. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And so again, and I think that's where like the whole idea of the cult of Osiris comes from, is looking at this everyday dude. He's just a guardian, but he's doing things that are like seemingly godlike. And so again, it's that game of telephone. Each person tells it just slightly different, slightly different, slightly different, until it becomes he is now just flat out a god. And now we need to revere him and learn his teachings. And oh, he's written all this stuff down. This must be his
Yeah.
gospel and stuff. Like that's the dangerous game that you play there when you start getting to that level of power, I guess.
Yeah, and to go back to the point you were making with the speaker, I don't inherently think the speaker's fears were incorrect.
No, absolutely not. Again, thinking of it now in this context, I don't think they are. I think he is rightfully concerned. He may be a little bit extreme about it, but
Yes, like the way he went about it, and the fact that I think there were absolutely some also like personal emotions
absolutely,
that were charging that decision
hundred
and
percent.
whatnot. 100%. But I think the underlying, like, he very much was shirking his duties as the commander of the Vanguard at a critical time for the defense of the city, and is extremely powerful. That's not a good
No,
combo to have.
not at all.
So,
Okay, well,
yeah.
this is helping me like figure out how I feel about the speaker while we're doing all this other stuff.
Yeah. Uh, so needless to say, Osiris discovers that there's been tampering with his previous project.
His toy,
Yeah.
his Lego construction that he's hidden from mom and dad. Yeah.
His failed experiment, and now it's time to pay the piper and tell the Vanguard what it is that is going on so that he can get some help. So we now look at the web lore titled Desperate Times. And it goes like this. Chronometric emissions cut across Mercury's surface, and radiolaria steamed from fissures that erupted like open wounds in the machine's soil. White-blue streams of arc energy carved borders around a circular sector about 100 miles wide. Walls of chronometric flame tore through Vex spires that came tumbling down in halves and sheared minotaurs in two along the boundaries of the region. The Red Legion stood watch as these eruptions flared around every Cabal machine, structure, and soldier inside the sector. They showed no sign of panic as ethereal fire burned over the world and their Vex opponents. Instead, they waited and watched and mobilized purposefully around the phenomenon. The circular shape that these walls cut were further segmented into 3 sections. Red Legion soldiers found themselves staring across the chronometric walls at each other from inside Mercury's past, present, and distant future. Under 3 different skies, 3 different suns, and on 3 different elevations of Mercury's gradually descending surface, the Red Legion went to work. Perhaps this time they would win the war. And then somewhere else is also this conversation as the Red Legion is activating the sundial. Somewhere deep inside the Vanguard halls, in a secure meditation chamber, a trio of warlocks surrounded Osiris. One Praxic, one Thanatonaut, and one Vanguard. Did the Vex corrupt him? Anur wondered aloud. My order just wants to know if he's real or some kind of Vex simulation, Harper said, paging through a datapad in his hands. You haven't left the forest in years, Ikora said to Osiris, the only one to address him directly. I need help, Osiris replied. I know, Ikora responded, hands clasped behind her back. She stared intently at her former mentor. Back in her crucible days, that uncompromising gaze was often the last thing her opponents saw. Anur glanced sidelong at her superior. Harper coughed and looked down at his datapad again. 2 years ago, Guardians entered the Infinite Forest, Osiris continued. They aided me in defeating the Axis Mind Panoptes, preventing a Vex apocalypse from befalling the system. In the process, he looked between each of them in turn. Some Guardians reported a body they found in the forest depths. Ikora sighed. Saint 14 never came back from that last mission to Mercury. We finally knew why. I reacted to it the only way I knew how. By turning Mercury into a temporal weapon for the Cabal? Anur asked. You are awfully tranquil for a man that just doomed this system, Harper said. You should rethink your career in Thanatonautics, Warlock Harper, if death frightens you, the exile replied. He nodded at Anur. I have made mistakes. I will continue to make them. It is the nature of my work. We should lock you away, the Praxic replied, but there was no real fire in it. There are others you've allowed to roam free. These are desperate times, Anur, Osiris said. I think you know that. Harper opened his mouth to ask another question, but Ikora cut him off. Anur ducked her head, and Harper bristled, but both left without question. Alone with Osiris, Ikora said, The speaker was right to exile you. We all made our own choices, Osiris replied. Like the Vex Gateway you built to the Undying Mind. A strategy like that is exactly what the machines would not expect, and you knew the Guardians would deliver. What is your point? You think like I do, but you've done what I never could. Found a way to coexist with the Vanguard while keeping their fool necks above the water, said Osiris. If you think you're helping your case, you're not. Time is broken on Mercury. I need help from our mutual friends. Oh, I know that. My Hidden have scouted your sundial. The Red Legion are loose in a time rift that is localized to the past, present, and future of Mercury. She took a step closer to him, shoulders tense. If we do not contain it, it is not going to stay that way for long. This rift will expand across the system. I have created a mitigation network across Guardian space. I am in control. You are anything but. Saint deserved another chance. And so did Cade. So did everyone we lost in the Red War. We'll hunt the Cabal across every timeline they created within the sundial. They will never be able to exploit it. You're damn right. Because you are going to mobilize the Guardians. You are going to fix this, and then you and I are going to have a long talk. Mercury should be the least of your worries. Excuse me. Let's save it for the long talk. And that's the end of that web lore.
Yeah, one of them should be like, "Why you're cheating so much, little shit." Oh my god, dude, we gotta do a Praxic Order set.
Praxic Order's got some interesting stuff going on.
Anor is kind of a cool fucking whatever. Yeah, I also just love the word Thanatonaut. I don't really fully understand what that means.
Yes, so the Thanatonauts are a sect of warlocks.
Presumably part of the Hidden, or they're just like another like the
they're
Hidden's
their
its own
own
thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Hidden are Ikora's like secret
Personal spy network, yeah. And then like a Thanatonaut or a Thanatonaut or a Praxic could be in there, but that's not like their primary
Right.
alignment, I guess.
Right. Really what those identify are the areas that those warlocks are doing research in.
Gotcha.
So Praxic Order is generally very like justice driven and typically are solar warlocks that are focusing on the like mastery of their powers for the betterment and defense of humanity.
Okay.
Thanatonauts are crazy.
They're all void, aren't they? Are you a Thanatonaut?
I am not a Thanatonaut. I think they may technically be associated with Arc, but they don't strongly lean one way or the other as far as subclass. Thanatonauts, their whole area of study is the moments between and during death. This is the group of warlocks that are obsessed with literally killing themselves over and over in as many different ways as they can think of to try and get a glimpse of what is beyond.
Oh my god. Okay, yeah, they might be batshit crazy.
They're a little crazy in my opinion.
maybe I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe that's not a good idea. I just love that word Thanatonaut. I don't know why.
It's a fun word. It is.
I love it when Shaq screams it at you when you get a 10 streak, and you're like, he's like, call the Praxic Order, call the Thanatonauts, call everyone.
Yeah, no, Shax is is great. He puts wonderful energy into that. But yeah, so the Thanatonauts are all about like using their immortality to try and explore what is beyond the realm of death, essentially.
But so you've got these two, and then of course the which Anor, I obviously I've heard that name plenty of times. What was the name of the Thanatonaut?
Harper.
Harper. I don't know that I've heard that one before.
Not one that has come up much as far as I remember.
Okay.
Thanatonauts in general don't come up much. Yeah.
Probably because they're dead a lot. God damn it. That's on me. So yeah, three powerful warlocks, each of their own individual orders. Which I still think the Vanguard. I mean, she's the Vanguard commander of the warlocks. Like,
right.
That is the strongest warlock. Maybe not strongest. I don't know. Highest power warlock, I guess.
Yeah.
I do like they're like super cautious of this Osiris. Like, is he a Vex simulation? Is he a trick? Like, what is this?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, this is the first time Osiris has appeared publicly to anybody that isn't Ikora
since his
and
exile,
a guardian.
Right? Like since his exile. Like,
yep.
He appeared to us at Curse of Osiris because we dealt directly with him, but that was like it was just the three of us, being him, the player guardian, and Ikora. So like, yeah, this is a big deal, and it is a bit of a time jump too because he talks about 2 years, and then Ikora mentions Cade's dead and stuff like that. Yeah. So like, this is closer to the actual season, and I guess this is like the intro to the season of why we were doing the season, because he talks about the points throughout the network, throughout the soul system, and those individual. God, there was one in EDZ. There was one on the Tangled Shore. Mm-hmm. There was one. I think there might have been one on Mercury, but they were like those little like nodes that you could like go
Yep.
to and do stuff, which eventually played into the puzzle for the God, what was that thing called?
Bastion.
Well, for the Gut Bastion, I'm trying to think of the actual mission. Quarters of Time.
Oh, Corridors of Time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which I don't care what anyone says. That was a cool ass freaking puzzle.
Yes, I thought it was cool.
That was very cool. But yeah, so this is like a huge step for Osiris to admit that he screwed up. Like, and
yeah, although to do it in the most like
downplaying
way,
he did.
Yeah.
He's like, I screwed up, but I'm in control. Well, if you screwed up, by definition, you are not in control. Like,
well, and his whole thing to Anor, like, yes, I've made a mistake. I will continue to do so. My work requires it. And I'm like, really?
You stupid. I'm downgrading you again. You're back to stupid Warlock. You were dumb Warlock for all of 5 minutes, and you let it go to your head. You are back to stupid Warlock. So yeah, but yeah, for him to come, I think this is a two-part thing. One, it's kind of big of him to like come and ask for help. Two, it's I think a bigger deal that Ikora is like willing to help, but she knows the ramifications of if she doesn't help. So like it's kind of like on Ikora to be like, yeah, we're gonna one up you. Or like you're gonna owe me basically. Like you're gonna solve this.
Yeah.
You're gonna do like you created this problem. You solve it. You fix it. But afterwards, we're gonna have a big old talk, and you're gonna listen. So this really is like seeing Ikora step above and become that Vanguard commander.
Yeah, she's not the student anymore.
Not at all. Not at all in this.
So, needless to say, the events of the season unfold, which, as far as the like Cabal portion of this is concerned, our Guardian goes through the sundial to kick the shit out of them in 3 different timelines, defeat the sister, the Scion sisters in control of everything. Great, we save the day, all good.
Fight our own death. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Important to the Saint and Osiris story, though, is what happens after we have control of the sundial again, or Osiris has full control of the sundial again. And Osiris tells us about why he made the sundial in the first place, in a quest line called An Impossible Task. And the dialogue from Osiris for that quest line goes like this. I tried to save Saint 14. I bent the rules of time using a prototype of the sundial. It allowed me to walk the corridors of time here on Mercury. But I failed. I never found Saint's final moment against the Vex. I encountered younger versions from his first mission to Mercury, among others, but none were the right moment. The prototype sundial still exists, accessible, and if it can still travel through Saint's personal timeline on this planet, but venture there at your own peril. He cannot be saved. I have walked every permutation of those corridors with 100,000 of my echoes and found nothing. Saint 14 is lost. And that's the end of his dialogue.
He does truly believe this then. Like
oh yes.
I mean, mathematically he should be correct.
Yeah. I mean, he's done hundreds of thousands of trials in an infinite space, so like you're never going to have done all of it.
You're always closer to 0 than you are infinity.
Right. But Osiris is like, I've done everything. I've put all of myself into trying to find him, and I haven't been able to. If I can't do it, nobody can. Is at least his mindset coming into it.
Yep.
But we have something Osiris doesn't. We have the perfect paradox shotgun.
Oh shit. Dude, we can create our own beacon with it. Oh, that's so brilliant. I never really understood why we could do what we did, but
Yep.
now that you said that exact thing, we can literally create. We have a beacon.
Yeah.
We can just go further back in time and give it to him, and now we can just pick whatever fucking time. Dude, all right, okay, so it's not really a. I mean, it is a perfect paradox, but like with a purpose. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I may have to go pull the shotgun out of collections. I used it for a longest time. Like I had that was like my loadout for Gambit was perfect paradox. God, I can't. I think I used the Python for a while for my middle shotgun and tractor cannon. I literally ran triple shotgun for Gambit, and let me tell you, it was a ton of fun. But yeah, that perfect paradox was a really cool little shotgun, and now it has even more lore on it that I didn't even realize right there in front of my face.
So, yes, we use the perfect paradox. We find ourselves at the origins of Saint's time on Mercury with that first mission that we talked about in our very first episode of this series, where our guardian comes in, saves Saint from House of Rain, and shows him the vision of the city, which is kind of what kickstarts him into like, I want to make that come true. And we give him the perfect paradox shotgun. We can then use the energy signature of that perfect paradox shotgun to find the moment in time where Saint is trapped by the martyr mind. And our guardian traverses through the sundial and the corridors of time using that signal to arrive at that moment. And this mission is titled Completing an Impossible Task in game. And we get to that moment, which it's the same space, the same map that Saint's tomb was found on, those many years prior. And we come upon it and we see Saint restrained in like one of those Vex, bubbles or shells, like from Vault of Glass, Atheon, or something like that.
Yeah. The ones that like
And
Cade is stuck, or no,
yep,
the captain and all that stuff throughout the
yep.
Titan mission. Yeah.
So Saint is restrained in one of these bubbles, and there's a giant hobgoblin that is the martyr mind, which is kind of facing him down, gun drawn. And our guardian comes into this, and we hear Saint yelling at this giant mind as we kind of load into the zone. And he's yelling at it, saying, "I've killed enough of you to end a war, and you took my light. I guess that makes us even. What are you waiting for? Last words? Finish it, you cowards." And as he's saying that, our guardian enters the scene and is making their way up the hill to where this is happening, chewing through the goblins and hobgoblins that are trying to get in our way. And Saint sees us and calls down, saying, "Guardian, you're back just in time. I was about to send my ghost away. I'm afraid that the martyr mind has taken my light. But now you're here. These Vex are," and the Vex intentionally like seals it up, prevents him from saying more.
These Vex are fucked. Is what is happening there, dude. I love, as I know, out of the two of us, between us, I know I cuss a lot. And I'm sorry for that. That's just who I am. It amazes me how much the Destiny universe does it too.
Without ever
Without
actually
doing it, right? Like
yeah.
that's the thing. Like that's the difference between tact and me. I have none of it.
So yes, our guardian does what they do best and
Kick the shit out of the
roll
Vex.
roll over the martyr mind. Or all of the surrounding, and we weaken it enough for Saint to break free.
Or piss it off enough.
Yeah, we draw its attention.
You you screw with it enough, you just pissed them off.
Yeah, we draw its attention. And so Saint breaks free from this confinement, and he summons his void shield and punches straight through the martyr mind, taking his revenge and now having access to his light once again. And as the martyr mind now lies in pieces before him, he turns to our player guardian and addresses us, saying, "It has been a long time, my friends. I've chased your memory for centuries. But you should go now. Those who could kill me are dead. You have made sure of that." And Ghost chimes in, "And what if the Vex take your light again?" "Impossible. It cost them everything to build the martyr mind. When you crushed it, they were doomed." "But you want us to leave? You'll be stuck here for years." "You've both done plenty. Just open the infinite forest gate for me. I'll meet you the long way around, at the entrance." And Saint turns as more Vex are starting to spawn into the area, and our guardian kind of has the like time warp effect coming in at the sides of the screen, showing that we're being pulled back as Saint's walking forward into the next wave of Vex, and just we hear him say, "What's a few more years of fighting Vex?" And then we are teleported out, and back to the sundial.
All right. We went up. Thank you.
We went up.
I needed the up. We kept going down, and I was not okay with this.
So this is a important thing to note here. We saved Saint, but we didn't pull him out of his timeline.
Right.
Like it's not
still
like
let him finish his own timeline.
Right. He still then continued to live in the infinite forest, fighting more Vex for however many years it was between what would have been his death and the day that we got back from the sundial.
I'm just saying, as a Titan, I understand. Sometimes you just gotta punch some shit.
Right.
And you gotta work some stuff out. I get it. I get it.
So we return to Mercury. After we were outside of the sundial now, and we go to the infinite forest gate, and we throw open the gate for Saint 14 to step through, with the still fighting Vex as he's walking through the gate.
He's literally like headbutting shit and just like,
yep,
it's amazing. Good little scene there.
Yeah, he's walking through, and I think it's a Minotaur that's like clinging
to him.
Like
trying to get back out. Like he's trying to get back into the forest, and he's like, no. You come with me.
Yeah, so he just brutalizes this Minotaur, like headbutts his face through its stomach, and proclaims himself, rescued. Essentially, he's like, I am Saint 14. I am the greatest Titan that has ever lived, and I am back.
So good. Such a good little scene.
It is. It's great. So, Saint has a lot to adjust to, though. He left the tower at a time where their biggest concern were the fallen houses around them, and the speaker and was still alive and leading the consensus, and there's a very different vanguard than what he remembered.
Cabal might not have even been in the system,
right? I don't know that he's even met a Cabal before this.
This is such a different time. I mean, we're talking so if memory serves me right, this is now finally into Shadowkeep, or is this all the way into? No, this was in Beyond Light. This had to have been Shadowkeep.
Well, we're still with Season of the Dawn for now.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like where we're at now in that point in time where he comes out is Season of the Dawn, which is 3 seasons into. Was it the third or was it the second season? Maybe it was the second season of Shadowkeep.
I
You know what I mean?
I'm trying to
get a timeline here because there was because the third one, that it had to have been the second one because the third one would have been that Seraph one, and then the fourth one would have been Arrivals.
Yep. Shadowkeep launched with Season of the Undying, and then Season of the Dawn was the next one. So
okay, so we're about a third of the year into Shadowkeep, which is still post Forsaken, which is still post Red War, which is still post Taken King, which is still post Vanilla Destiny. So I mean, working backwards, he's been gone before he left before all of that.
Yeah.
So like, there's a lot to adjust to in this system.
Yeah. That made me realize that like I don't think Saint ever met Cade.
Oh shit! Maybe like a very young Cade.
Maybe, but because like Tallulah Fairwind, or maybe Andal was the Vanguard.
Andal.
Yeah.
No, because it was still Tallulah, because they were still arguing with her. Was she at the round table when Osiris?
Yeah, she was at the round table.
So it was still Tallulah. Oh my god, dude, that's like that's literal lifetimes he's been gone.
Yeah.
Dude, that just hit real hard.
Yeah, that's interesting. There's a lot that he missed.
And for him to like come back, like, hey, Cade's dead. Who? Like,
right.
That's kind of the deal, right? Like, who? There's this thing called Oric. What? Eris Morn is who?
Yeah.
Dude, like, does he even know? Like, that's kind of mind blowing.
So yeah, it's very fish out of water.
Crota doesn't. The Hellmouth doesn't mean anything to him. Like,
yeah, and say I don't know that he was around for the original assault on the moon. Certainly not for us.
All the Dredgens
defeating Crota. Yeah, I don't think he would have been around for any of the Dredgen stuff.
Dude, he missed everything. He's basically a new player at this point.
Kinda, yeah.
Dude, this is nuts. Maybe he needs to listen to our podcast.
I mean, yeah.
He might need to.
Sit in orbit in the Gray Pigeon and like,
there you go.
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude. That's a lot of stuff to miss.
Yeah, so yeah, he's very fish out of water. He's very like there's a lot of things that he's coming to terms with. But very shortly after his return to the tower is a very long awaited reunion. And we have in the final chapter of the lore book, The Pigeon and the Phoenix, entitled Reunion, we have Saint and Osiris finally meeting once more after lifetimes. And it goes like this. Saint 14 watches vessels dip in and out of the hangar. The cadence of docking and disembarking ships finds rhythm in the busy city. It is routine, practiced, peaceful. A visitor steps aboard the Gray Pigeon. Geppetto turns to welcome them. Greetings, Brother Osiris. You are a welcome sight. Is Sagira with you? Hello, Geppetto. Sagira visits Ikora. Osiris sits on the gangway of the Gray Pigeon, and he runs a ribbon through his fingers. Hello, Saint. Osiris, I wondered if this meeting would be with one of your projections. I would never. That's the end of that lore card.
I'm telling you, something about it triggered something in Osiris. Like something about just the fact that Saint was dispatched to find him and then just basically never did. And it came down to like Osiris realizing he fucked up, like he did a bad, and having to like fix it, and then like in the process of trying to fix it, screwed it up again, and like still needed help. Like something triggered in him to like trigger those feelings and be like, this is who I'm meant to be with. It's so pretty. I like it.
So I say we also have on a slightly more dour note.
No. I refuse. I will plug my ears, sir.
Well, you can do that, but it's something that happened. Because not only has Saint discovered that this city is vibrant and peaceful and wonderful, and he can see, the people that he knew and loved before, but there's also been some loss in the time since he was last in the tower.
You cut that shit out. You cut that shit out, Myth.
The most prominent of those being the speaker. And in the lore card for the Patron of Lost Causes, which was I believe, scout rifle during Season of the Dawn, Saint has a eulogy for the speaker, and creates a memorial service, in which he says this. My name is Saint 14. The speaker was my father. Guardians do not have true fathers. Some might say guardians do not have true family. We are born with no one but our ghosts, and we find our way to something more. I was lucky to find my way to a family I chose for myself. I was drawn to the speaker because of the vision he had for this city. He helped me understand that we fight not for the sake of fighting, but for the sake of the people. He taught me to imagine a day where we might put down our weapons, and that reaching that day would be our greatest victory yet. And I have worked for that day all my life. The speaker was a leader in this city. He was here at its formation. He helped establish the consensus. Most importantly, he was a figure that people could recognize and trust. Because of him, that is what I aspire to be as well. A familiar face who reminds people that they are safe, that they are taken care of. It is painful for me and for all of us that we could not be here during the speaker's last moments. As guardians, it is the nature of our long lives that we see many people die. We hope that through our service, we can give them peaceful deaths. At the very least, we know that the speaker died bravely. We know that he died with the city, the people, and the traveler in his mind. We know that his last moments were a testament to everything this city stands for. Bravery in the face of adversity, and dedication to our principles when faced with those who would do us harm. We cannot reclaim what we have lost. There will always be a void that the speaker once filled. We cannot replace him. But I hope someday we may find someone to continue his work. Father, I will miss you. I am sorry for the times that I failed you. I have been given a second chance, and I will use it to live up to the ideals you thought you saw in me. I will not let you down. Thank you. That's the end of that card.
Okay.
You can unplug your ears now.
I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry. Motherfucker. Damn it, man. Okay. It was sweet. Wasn't as down as I thought it would be. It was actually really sweet. I do also, like, the whole time I'm thinking, like, you know, the speaker's last moments of, like, the speaker sitting there looking Gaul in the face and, you know, devotion inspires bravery. Bravery requires self-sacrifice. So feel free to kill yourself. Like, ballsiest freaking lines ever. Like, literally staring your captor in his face, telling him to go kill himself. Like, how do you answer that? Like, from the captor's side, is he looking at this guy and going, this guy is fucking nuts? Go kill myself? What? Who said? I'm your captor. You obey me. Like, what? No, I can't. Do I do that? No. Maybe he's right. Yeah. Okay. So Saints free. Osiris is back. Everyone's in the tower. Happy days.
Happy days.
That's it.
Not quite.
It's the end of Destiny. Turn it off now. No.
We're all good. We're done.
All done.
That's
we
it.
Beat
Go
the game.
No.
We beat one story. That's all we do. We just beat one storyline.
We've beaten one storyline. So there are some things that happen during Season of the Worthy, which is the Warmind focus season, specifically with Osiris. But I'm gonna just kind of breeze over those because although they're interesting, they're not integral to the story that we're telling here.
Sure.
Essentially, there's a conversation where Osiris hands over kind of coordination of the trials of Osiris to Saint 14.
That's why they're the trials of Saint 14 now.
Right. The other one is this is the Warmind season where we're helping Rasputin kind of before they were an EXO with getting themselves back online and getting themselves access to more of their resources. Near the end of the season, Osiris has kind of a altercation with Rasputin because remember, Osiris's mentors were the Iron Lords, which Rasputin killed. And Osiris very much does not trust Rasputin and knows what he's capable of. And so he has a showdown with him, or a verbal confrontation with him.
I was going to say, does he run in there and go, 1v1 me, bro? I feel like he would be stupid enough to do that.
Yeah. But,
stupid warlock.
But no, so he has essentially, tells Rasputin, like, why should I trust you? Prove to me that you are trustworthy in this endeavor. Because Season of the Worthy is that season where we're like, we know something's coming. We don't know much about it, but we know something's coming. It's
literally on the boards in all the bunkers. Like, there's red dots coming into the system.
So Osiris, has this confrontation with Rasputin. Rasputin's only answer to why should I trust you is Rasputin gives him a set of coordinates. And that set of coordinates is way out in space. And Osiris and Sagira travel to it. And they discover a gravitational anomaly there that, as they get closer to it, becomes a pyramid ship.
Boom.
They enter, or I should say, Sagira stays behind. Osiris enters said pyramid ship. Has just a real weird, trippy, like
stupid warlock.
not a vision. It's like he just gets flashes of a bunch of different emotions and points in time, um, and is like feels like he's losing himself, and then he snaps back, and he's in his cockpit of his ship, like he never left, and the pyramid ship is not there anymore,
Oh
and
shit.
all that has changed is that in his hands, he is now holding a cold metal seed, which
Holy shit.
is implied to be a seed of silver wings.
Right.
Specifically, the seed of silver wings that sprouts the tree of silver wings that is used as the communication platform in Season of Arrivals, which was the season immediately following this.
Over on Io, where the pyramid
Yes.
ship parks itself. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
because I know
so
Eris was there interpreting a lot of those too.
yeah,
I
she
don't
would.
remember if Osiris ever like shows up there ever again. I know
Osiris
Zavala comes
doesn't.
in once.
Osiris never shows up during the season. But the question of like why is the tree there, comes up, and if you searched around the tree, enough, you could actually find in the roots a little like spray painted symbol of the eye of Osiris,
No shit.
uh, to kind of mark
I
that
never knew that.
he
I
had
never
been
found that.
there.
That's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah. So, that stuff I recommend looking into. It is pretty cool, but for the essence of time, because there's a lot to cover, we're gonna breeze over that a little bit. Say generally speaking, as far as Season of Arrivals go, it's just kind of an uneasy time for the two, like for everybody, because the pyramid ships are looming in Season of Arrivals.
They're
Like they've
literally
shown up.
here. Like we're getting our shit kind of kicked in on these different public events on Titan and Io and Mercury.
Yeah, like it's not looking great. Um, so I other like no major events regarding Osiris happened, but I do want to read a lore card that was during Season of Arrivals. This came to us from the Tomb Rider Sparrow, which was the uh, Festival of the Lost Sparrow for that season. Because it's got just kind of a good moment between the two to kind of show they've been growing closer to each other over what would be the last couple months in game, um, and just give kind of an idea of their interactions now. So again, this is the Tomb Rider, and it goes like this. Osiris pushed past a strand of decorative cobwebs as he entered the hangar. Saint 14 was crouched beside an old sparrow, busily wrapping it with a long bandage. This sparrow will be terrifying, Saint 14 said proudly, but stopped when he saw the expression on Osiris's face. Bad news? Osiris perched himself nervously on the edge of the workbench. Their plan is to evacuate the threatened planets, he said. To flee, concern slacked by only the raw hope that the pyramids will not pursue. If they do, what we have lost already is little compared to what we are about to lose. Without thinking, Osiris pulled off his gloves. Freed of the metal gauntlets, his hands looked old. He wrung them together, his fingers worrying at the edges of his ragged nails. If the darkness is to claim Mars, if it takes Mercury, I don't. Quiet your mouth. commented Saint 14. And Osiris did. Saint 14 stood and then moved toward Osiris in 2 enormous strides. He grasped the warlock by his shoulders and lifted him to his feet. He took Osiris's hand in his own and wordlessly filled it with triangular orange candies. Osiris obediently placed a few in his mouth and chewed silently. And after a while, he spoke. "These are truly terrible," he said, gratitude in his voice. "Yes," replied Saint 14. "Have some more." And that's the end of that little lore card.
Oh, he make him homemade candy corn. It tasted like shit.
I think so.
The poor guy. See, but that's what you do for loved ones. Like, you like, these are crap. Like, but you accept them. Like, that's that. Oh, beacon in
And
the
it's and it's that moment of like Osiris is very stressed. He's worrying about these very real big problems, and Saint is like, "Let's just take
Don't worry
a
about
second.
it.
Let's just take a second. Just
Fucking try this
focus
candy
on
corn I made.
focus on the terrible candy, and just forget about that for a little bit."
Here's some more. I know it tastes like shit, but I made like 6 fucking batches, so we got to do something with it.
Exactly.
I'm not gonna give it to the children because I know it tastes like shit, but you at least will accept it.
Uh,
He wouldn't feed it to the pigeons either. I don't think.
no, I don't think
I
so.
think he likes the pigeons more than he likes Osiris. I don't know.
Yes. Season of Arrivals ends with the removal of a number of planets from the solar system.
Blipping of the content.
Yeah, just a little bit. Again, some of Osiris's fears have come to pass, but the Traveler once again steps in and has another kind of light wave that seems to prevent the pyramid ships from encroaching further. And
was that where it healed itself? Like it became whole again? Well, as whole as it ever has been.
I think so. I think that was I think it was at that time. Yes, because in the cutscene where it shows the Traveler like healing itself and all the people are gathered around underneath it because it's been doing weird things and everyone's like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
In that cutscene, you can see Saint and Osiris standing together. I very specifically remember that as I was looking through research and stuff. So yeah, that happens. It emits another light wave, which kind of pushes back the pyramids from being able to continue.
Presumably, like, possibly stopping a second collapse. Like,
very possible
the pyramids were here enough that, and they were hovering over enough planets that, like, that might have been a blip that stopped it from taking everything.
Yeah, that could have gone real bad.
Yeah. But then Beyond Light happens. Not really much in there, was there?
Not a whole lot that is relevant to these two as far as the Beyond Light campaign.
Okay.
There is something very relevant that happened in the season that shipped with Beyond Light, Season of the Hunt.
Oh, yeah. Oh, shit. I forgot that was the season. Okay, yeah, that's actually kind of important.
That was the season.
When I think of that season, when I think of Season of the Hunt, I keep like separating it from Beyond Light because, like I said, and this is kind of like this is a storytelling shift that was happening kind of during the time, during it really evolved kind of over the years. Like when Shadowkeep came out. Or no, I guess even further back, even like when Forsaken came out, the whole 801, all the Foundry stuff happened, and it was very separate. They were very much like they were separate things happening, and then the Drifter thing happened, and it really kind of had nothing to do with anything. Then Opulence happened, and it really kind of had nothing to do with anything. And then Shadowkeep happened. Well, at the same time Shadowkeep was happening, the Undying Mind stuff was happening. Well, yeah, there was stuff kind of related to that on the moon, like there was the invasions and stuff like that, but then like after that, it kind of like didn't really have anything. Then we had the Season of the Dawn, which again, none of this stuff really seemed to add up to like what was going on until Arrivals. Then when Arrivals happened, like that was the big boom that like, okay, now the conclusion of this is Beyond Light. Now there's this thing that's happening. But then while Beyond Light's happening, there's another story happening in the background. And it's that storytelling of like the big boom was the expansion, and that was kind of like a capstone. And now it started kind of like a little bit of a new story that kind of was supposed to like feed out of that, but was still kind of its own thing that then was supposed to like connect to each season, connect all the way to the next expansion and have another big boom and be like, this is the final conclusion. But it was very disconnected throughout that they didn't Bungie had a rough time connecting all this stuff together. I'll definitely admit that. And so
Yeah.
like when I think of Season of the Hunt, I keep forgetting that was the season with Beyond Light.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that season was very important, specifically to Osiris.
Yes. So I'm gonna tell everyone now this is gonna be a long episode.
Yeah, I know. We're I'm looking at time right now. We're just about to hit that 2 hour mark, but we are committed to finishing this one because like there's enough to like have another episode, but it's gonna be like really short, and Thanksgiving's coming, and we're not gonna record next week. So yeah.
Yeah. So needless to say, the next we're gonna read a portion of another lore, web lore, titled Immolent Part 1. I'm gonna go over kind of the main topics that happen in this prior to the reading portion. But essentially, this is Beyond Light. Osiris is in somewhat of a similar mind space to how he was in the comics we read, where to the Vanguard, like Aramis is the big bad. Aramis is the thing that and her control of stasis, like that's what they need to be focusing on. That's the true threat at the moment. And Osiris is telling them like, don't let Aramis blind you to the other threats on our borders. Like there's more going on here than just her. And the Vanguard is very much like, no, we're focusing on the thing we can see. He goes to Anna to try and like, because Anna's been a rebel, and doesn't necessarily have the same thinking as the Vanguard. He finds her working on trying to get Rasputin back in the exo body. She's been working on it since Beyond Light. And she's very invested in the like, I can't do anything else. I need to do this. I need to get Rasputin back. And so he kind of writes her off as like, okay, she's too lost in her own obsession. I can't rely on her for help. He goes to Mara to try and get help from Mara and understand what else is out there hunting them. And Mara more or less turns him away. But she knows something. Like she reads over the reports Osiris has been getting from other area like strange anomalies across the solar system, and seems to react to it as far as like facial expression, but does not provide any additional information. And so Osiris has decided to take it upon himself once again to go find what the real big bad is out in the dark.
He doesn't learn lessons very well, does he?
Not so much.
I will continue to make mistakes in my research. Yeah, okay, jackass.
To his credit, he did attempt multiple avenues of finding allies this time.
I'll give him that. I'll give him that one. That's a step in the positive direction.
Yeah. That brings us to the portion of this web lore that I'm actually going to do the reading for, which is the very last visit he makes before setting out on this mission. And it goes like this. The tower hangar is still, its ships grounded. Gearheads and pilots alike wait in tense reticence. Scramble speakers buzz with static anticipation of orders from Vanguard High Command. Osiris turns back to a lone point of light shining through the gloom. I do not understand all of this code. This is Geppetto's specialty, Saint 14 says while standing bent over a wide desk covered in data tablets. Holographic images of the lighthouse shimmer in the hangar lights. We could use the crucible right now. Your trials, this would be very helpful. You mean to stay, yes? I will. Long enough to show you how to implement the simulation, but tonight I must disembark, Osiris says. So soon? Osiris tenses his jaw in a forced silence. He twiddles with code. I'm worried about what Vance found. Saint places a heavy hand on Osiris's chest. Let go of your obsession. Do not leave chasing phantoms again. Phantoms. You think the darkness is satisfied. This is just the first move. I need to know the next before it's made. If there is something you fear, let me help you. We face this together. Osiris's mind drifts to the dark anomalies. Saint doesn't need another burden. The safest place for you is the tower, Saint. Time tends to renege on its gifts. So your mission is dangerous. Osiris considers lying, but says, potentially. Then do not go. The vanguard already scouts Europa. The forest is gone, my fiery bird. Saint gives an uneasy chuckle and bats Osiris on the shoulder with his palm. You don't need to disappear and go looking for another. Osiris smiles faintly. The forest is gone, and all the simple pleasures in existence could not replace it. Sagira had told him once that life ebbs and flows, and in that ebb, he is still lost. How long will it last until purpose rushes forth to find him again? Me? Disappear. He gives Saint a tilted look. I won't. I'll be back, and I will continue to keep Zavala abreast of my travels. And me. No number of tethers would keep him. Yes, and you. And you will answer my letters? Osiris skirts the promise. If I am able. Or I will send you with more of this candy corn, and Sagira will make you eat it. Oh, please, no. Not be ridiculous. It is delicious. Osiris fails to contain a chuckle. Saint embraces him. His mind is star-eyed, but Osiris feels himself relax. Someday, this will be enough. And that's the end of that reading.
It's going to take another 2 years before he realizes that. Stupid, stupid, stupid warlock. That's all I'm saying. Stupid warlock. Yeah, but it's still sweet. Like the whole candy corn thing. Like, I personally don't like candy corn, but I know that my wife likes it, so I might have to get her some candy corn. But whatever, it's fine. It's whatever. I'm definitely not gonna make my own. Screw that. Yeah, no, this is. But so this is right before. Was this right before we start getting all those transmissions through Zavala's office?
Yes. Yep.
Where it's like him like starting to be like, hey, I need this thing, I'm doing this thing, and then like there's another transmission from like Mara, like, hey, I think Saint's doing this or Osiris is doing this thing, like maybe pay attention to it. And then there's like a few more from like Sagira, and then like the next thing we find is Crow.
Yeah.
Kind of like out of nowhere, like, wait, Uldren Sov, and he's like, who? And we're like, you, and he's like, no. But Crow's been res as guardian and is there like literally saving Saint's life or Osiris's life.
Yes. But we have a little bit of lead up to how he got to that situation.
Ooh.
So the next web lore that I'm going to summarize and then read is Immolant Part 2. So what Osiris sets out on his mission to find out what these anomalies are that he's seeing show up all over the system. And when he finally discovers one, he finds a spire growing out of the ground made from some kind of organic material and having just this dark aura surrounding it. And as he watches, he sees that be you know beings, fallen, cabal, anyone that comes in contact with one of these spires starts to exhibit extreme aggression and reverence towards the spire.
Interesting.
He moves throughout a couple of different camps, some fallen, uh some cabal, seeing this repeated, like all these anomalies are these spires of sorts. And what is happening, as we know in game, is Wrathborn are being created.
Oh, those are the green pillar things
Yep.
that like the oh, what was it? There were some fallen guys that fell to it. Like there was like a giant shank and a servitor and stuff, and then there was a captain. They were even taken fallen to this thing, right?
I don't know that.
Or were they
I don't think they were
scorned?
taken. They were scorned for sure. I
Definitely
don't think they
scorned.
were taken.
I'm trying to remember what they were on the Dreaming City, if they were taken or scorned. I think they're no, because they were still a hive there. It was a hive wizard that
Yeah.
eventually popped up.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, all these
So
things are like succumbing to the Wrathborn thing, that being tied directly to Zebo Wrath.
yep. Yeah. So but Osiris doesn't know any of that. He doesn't know what they are. He doesn't know that they're tied to Sivu or the hive at all. He just knows these things are emitting dark energy and it's making the stuff around them go crazy. And that's bad. So he's trying to track down, okay, what are these? What are they doing? How can we combat them? And he decides to try and negotiate. Since he hasn't gotten information from anybody else, he turns to Spider and is going to make a deal with Spider for information on these spires. And Spider tells him, essentially in exchange for a favor, Spider tells him that these things are called cryptoliths and are of hive making. And he knows that the broods of hive that created them are related to Oryx in some way. They previously flew the banners of Oryx, though he hasn't seen them fly any banners as of late. But they're the only hive that could be creating these things in the mind of the spider. Well, where is he going to find information about Oryx other than the Dreadnought? And this is where we're going to start our reading. So this is a subsection of the Immolant lore reading that is just titled Dreadnought. And it goes like this. Osiris impales a wizard's head upon a stunted spike, surrounded by a freshly bloodied hive sigil. The dreadnought consul sputters to life, accepting his tithe. While Cade's old transmat zone is no longer in operation, the massive breach left by the Datilian Exodus 6's impact remained agape. Entry had not been difficult, despite the halls crawling with newly spawned thrall. They were young, and nearly a century of navigation through the infinite forest had honed Osiris's ability to remain unseen. The dreadnought's systems present as living memory, chronicles and hymns recounting histories. It is a rat king of fading ideas, racked with failing connections and dying interpretations as Akka, the ship, suffers a slow, final death, damaged beyond repair. But there is knowledge to glean here. Osiris directs Sagira to rip spokes of data from the console for Vanguard High Command. You found the most disgusting one. I am not touching that. Dictate it to me instead, Sagira says to Osiris. Osiris sneers and grasps the head. He navigates the recounting of the hive from Oryx's death. They are fractured, broken by internal power struggles. It leads into the recounting of Savathun, who is banished, branded as a heretic. Many hive turned to her when Oryx fell. Many of those same broodlines defected as the darkness invaded Sol, sending Savathun into hiding. She is still hunted by the hounds of war. Her pursuer has no local story to recount here, for it is yet to be written in blood. War's celebrant rides to wrest Crota's lost foundlings from the Witch Queen's schemes, to bring unity, to bring reckoning, to bring glory. Luna will be reformed in her image. All tithes to Zivu Arath, all tithes to the black edge of her singing blade. In his mind he hears, I am the din of rapture. I am the herald of peace. My banner is known to you. Zivu Arath, Osiris says, words spoken on compulsion. He takes his hands from the wizard's head as emerald smoke wafts from its orifices. Osiris slumps to his knees. This must be the echo we've been chasing. An omen of her voice, resounding through the darkness, heralding war. Hive War God. Yeah, this is bad, Sagira says. The third sister. She's finally come for us, and her champion seeks to supplant Crota's remaining daughters on Luna. That is where we must go. And go they did, into the chasm on Luna. They follow the trail of signals down into the enduring abyss, through the nightmares of so many. He stands at the face of it for what feels like hours. The great angular thing, the edge of night that plays behind his mind. Speechless, Sagira teases. Maybe the pyramids aren't so bad if they can get you to shut up every now and then. Her chuckle is thin and tense. They press on. Osiris swipes away silken threads of webbing above the shadow of Luna's pyramid. Braziers illuminate a cyanide of witches and wizards deep in the chasm. All point in alignment toward a monolithic sigil of Shivu Arath, set atop a cryptolith adorned in blades. Her will projected from some far-off, unseen cosmic hollow. At the base of her visage is a monstrous knight, adorned with tapestries charred by scorching brands. There it is, Osiris whispers. Along with the entire Scarlet Court, Sagira's voice crackles. Crota's remaining children and their spawn. They can be destroyed all in one fell swoop. What is it with you and suicidal ideas? We can't transmat out of here and they won't just kill you. They'll rip out your light, Osiris. They're all here, Sagira, in one place. And you are worth more than a bunch of hive nobles. Wait for backup. Let me go topside and call for help. No, we stop this now. We halt her here. Osiris looks to the convocation below. It is decided. You can't just decide that. Osiris turns to Sagira. Go for help, but I cannot wait for the vanguard. I'll see you soon with reinforcements. If you're going, I'm going. She decompiles safely beneath his armor. It is decided. Together, they will make war on the hive. Solar wings combust from Osiris's back. In each hand he wields a blade of dawn. The calamity of his inferno sends hive scattering in every direction. Voshir and her two daughters, Yishra and Eirix, turn to confront the phoenix. They are ashen before their first incantations can be completed. He paints the scene apocalyptic. 15 noble brood are reduced to cinders before a defense can be mounted. Again, the voice. Laughter like clashing swords. Osiris sails through the air as daggers of dark power whistle past him. Golden echoes split from his body to cut down fleeing hive and soak reprisals. Kinox, the last daughter of Crota, scurries through cracks between the rocks as her son, Ulg-Urin, and his cohort of lesser knights raise shields to defend her. Osiris extinguishes a blade into his palm to form a singularity of void and hurls a nova bomb that consumes them. With his other blade he dives straight into the ground, erupting a well of radiance surrounded by a phalanx of gilded echoes. Nobles shriek for their thralls to charge. Bolts of flame and arc tear through them as Osiris blinks through the void from one echo to another. Their advance breaks, and he steps over their smoldering husks and turns the blaze to their masters. Osiris revels in the slaughter. Shivu Arath's sigil drinks in his fervor and the nobles' deaths. The voice comes again. Laughter like screaming fear. Her visage emboldens, and the celebrant waits at the foot of Shivu Arath's cryptolith, unburnt. Osiris's echoes reconvene into him. Face me, he exclaims and steps forward. Shivu Arath's visage emits a shockwave that thunders through the chasm. It rips away Osiris's well and throws him across the stone floor, his back slamming against the cliff face behind him. What is this? Shock punctuates the question. He pulls against an unseen force to no avail. The voice again. You burn offerings. I accept them. Shivu Arath's will crushes the pressure of his light, seals the flames into his flesh, stakes his body to the stone on paralytic pins. Her image distorts in a concave canvas around him, the celebrant at its core. Hot shadows encroach, dousing the borders of his power. Osiris focuses his mind on the spark at his core. Flames billow from within. Countless gilded echoes ripple from him, testing Sivu's hold, pressing for vulnerabilities. The sun sings to repel the shadow. He finds a moment, wrenches a hand free, and unleashes the reach of chaos. The beam of arc tears through Sivu's sigil. Soulfire shards rocket away as cracks fork through Shivu Arath's projection. Unfazed, she does not relent. The voice taunts him. Resist me, light bearer. Her will overcomes him, stronger than before. The celebrant steps forward. A massive cleaver dangles from his hand, weightless. The beast carves a rune into the stone on either side of Osiris, its eyes locked with his. It nods and then turns to the sigil. All ties to Shivu Arath. War dominant. Endless. Its tone is soft rasp and soot. The runes kindle in harlequin gleam. Osiris? Sagira's voice statics in his ear. One of us has to make it out. Has to warn them. I'm sorry, Sagira. Run. His words are thin from duress. The celebrant drives its sword into the cliffside stone above Osiris's head, and the cryptolith erupts into neon flare. Die well, Osiris. The celebrant bows and withdraws from sight into Luna's depths. Wisps of light hemorrhage through his skin, trimmed in blood and drawn around the blade embedded above him as if it were a spike. Sagira's voice is a whisper. I'm not letting them take you. Give Saint my data drive. Osiris exhales and closes his eyes. He sees himself in a million permutations, each path a life in glimpses. He takes what he can from them, not enough to savor, but enough to be immortalized in nostalgic haze. In one, he is a blazing warrior, driving back the horrors of the longest nights. Another, a vigiled gargoyle atop the infinite forest. A grizzled elder, overseeking keen disciples. And in so many, he is dead. But there is one where Osiris finds happiness. He finds a time away from strife. He finds Saint, a dream of warm serenity, the peace to his purpose. With Saint, there is a future that could have been. So many unlived moments lost between calls to action. He wishes Sagira had not come to watch him die. His faithful companion, his guiding starlight, his hope, his humanity. Sagira, for as many lives as we had, you were always my better. And he feels his light is breaking. Osiris, why don't you ever listen to me? She compiles herself in front of him. What are you? Shut up. Listen to my words. And her iris is bright with light. There are great things still left for you. Don't lose hope in the darkness. And she is luminant. Osiris breathes the word as if he could hold it back. No. He would understand in time. She had seen that he would. And blinding light erupts from Sagira's core as she splits apart. A wave of light surges and tears across the chasm, and her sacrifice cleanses every trace of Shivu Arath's presence. The sigil is erased, the cryptolith destroyed, and Osiris alive, but alone. The aegis of Sagira's light stands strong in the shadow of the Luna Pyramid for many days to come. That's the end of that reading.
Holy fucking shit. Okay. I'm just going to say Osiris cheated and he got punished for it.
I mean, Dawnblade into Nova.
That's what I'm into fucking chaos. Like, what the shit? Like, it's one thing to be like one into another within the same subclass, but then to be like one super into another super while doing reflections and echoes. He cheated and he got punished for it. Fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. Also, is every ghost a miniature nuclear weapon?
It kind of seems like...
What the shit?
They can be.
What the hell? What is this? What? So if I'm an exo with a ghost, I have 2 nuclear weapons at my disposal.
I mean, you have 2 nuclear weapons at your disposal once.
I mean, once is all you need. I blew up the sun.
Well, at least nuclear weapons against dark things, I guess.
I can't blow up the moon.
Can't blow up the moon.
Just everything in it. I like where your thinking is, but too big.
Yeah. but yeah, so that is how
the death of Sagira.
Osiris lost Sagira.
Oh my god. So I guess that kind of solidifies, like, Sagira, there is no bringing Sagira back. I never read this lore, so I had always kind of had like this inkling in the back of my mind that like Sagira could be brought back or whatever, but like, yeah, this is Osiris turning mortal and Sagira is not coming back. Like, this is the end of Sagira.
Yeah, she willingly sacrificed herself by like overloading herself with light to the point where she exploded.
Jesus.
But
Jesus Pete's.
She was successful in keeping Osiris alive. However, what she could not have known, nor Osiris could have known, and as we only know now, because we have the secret has been revealed to us in the Witch Queen. Well, the season of Lost prior to it. Osiris from that point forward was not Osiris for a long time. It's implied that Savathun very much directed Osiris via clues that she left to be at the mercy of Shivu Arath, with the intention of taking over his body in some way. And that is exactly what she did the moment Sagira was gone.
Who better to learn from the Vanguard on what resurrection than from like one of the most powerful warlocks with access to all the archives.
Yeah. So we get a little taste of what it was like for Osiris during this time. The real Osiris during the time that Savathun was kind of wearing his skin. from the Wolf Tone Draw bow.
I feel very proud of myself. I was about to ask, is this from Wolf Tone?
Yes, it is. Which the lore card for it goes like this. The slithering dark is cold against my face. I cannot speak, cannot breathe. I reach for Segura, but then I remember. I form a fist, but feel nothing. I am bound, and as I thrash, the images cut fissures through my mind. I see glimpses. Someone, the awoken prince? He helps me to my feet, but still I struggle in the dark. And now she is standing, thanking him. But she uses my voice. She has stolen my form, my voice. But someone will see my failure and cast her out. They must. I awaken again, a glimmer of sunlight, but how long has it been? Zavala looks at me, at her, considers her words, poison cloaked in wisdom. I cry out, he must know. Zavala, listen, listen. You know me, you know not to. And then I awake again. The smell of night flowers. I am walking, she is walking, through a moonlit garden. And there is Ikora, speaking, laughing, nodding. Look, Ikora, look at me. Don't you see it? Pay attention, pay attention. I taught you better than this. I awaken again. This time, a woman, an exo, sits before me and sways, eyes vacant, but inside she is sinking as well. Now her voice, her true voice, is humming, a gyre of sound, and the exo sways faster to it. I hear his voice, and I push to the surface, force myself awake. Saint. No, no, no. I scream, but there is no sound. He looks into her eyes. He smiles. He reaches for me, but it is not me, Saint. That is not me. Please. I am weeping, but I cannot weep. I am nothing. Only heat and hate. Only sickness and shame. Trust me, I hear my own voice say, and I drown again. And that's the end of that card.
What happened to Up? We had it there for a minute. We're rapidly losing it.
Ups and downs.
Rapidly losing the Up. Yeah, so he's obviously a prisoner in his own body, thanks to Savathun. Can kind of see things, but can't really can't interact with them at all. Like, is frustrated as hell, rightfully so. And is stuck like that for a hot second.
Yes.
Until
for a number of seasons.
Yeah.
Season of the Undying, season of the Lost.
Is the Exo Lakshmi?
Season of the Splicer. Yeah. I think it's implied that, like, yes, that's a meeting with Lakshmi, and Savathun is using Savathun's song to
like corrupt her.
Influence her to the suggestions that she is making, that Savathun is making.
Because Wolf Tone came out with Season of the Lost.
Yes.
Which would have been after Splicer and all that.
Yeah. So even though the item came out after Splicer, it's describing events that
That
happened
happened for it.
during Splicer.
Yep.
And there's some readings. I'm gonna do a few here. Again, trying to keep us under 3 hours if
I
I
was
can.
gonna say we're pushing time pretty hard.
That describe kind of the interactions that Savathun as Osiris had, particularly with Saint. Those are readings from Boots of the Assembler and the In Memoriam Ghost Shells. I'm not going to read them in full, but just to summarize, like Osiris is very cold towards Saint now. Not outright like rude or anything, but it's like, to Saint, they are in a relationship at this point, and like he's expecting a partner in a lot of ways to talk to discuss things, to have conversations and figure out problems with, and he's being met with kind of the stone wall of you know I'm doing other things. Like I can't I can't take a vacation with you. I can't distract myself from what is going on right now. Is kind of the facade that Savathun is putting up to keep him at arm's length. Uh and Saint is like, he knows something's not right, but also to everyone else in the tower, Osiris just lost Sagira, just lost his ghost, just lost his immortality, and a lot of them are chalking up his strange behavior to like he's still trying to cope with that and figure that out, and it's got him out of sorts. So a lot of what may otherwise have been suspicion is being redirected as like he needs time to figure this out. He's angry at the world right now, kind of thing.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But needless to say, there are some conversations that lead Saint to feel pretty on the outside of their relationship. However, there are some other things happening with Saint, which are very important for kind of how he views himself, not just his relationship with Osiris. That happened during season of the Splicer. So I'm not going to go over the entirety of the season, but essentially, we did a decent portion in our Vex series, Endless Night. And the Elixni, yes. The Endless Night happened. The House of Light, Elixni, under Mithrax, came to the city to try and help it, and to have a safe haven. Lakshmi, a lot of people weren't a fan of the Elixni being in the city. Saint being one of them, because he had fought Elixni his whole life to defend people, and now he's struggling with the idea, especially with as out of time as he was. It's a much fresher wound for him than it is for a lot of people.
It's still like they are the immediate threat to him,
right? So he really struggles with trusting them, though
that makes a lot of his like thinking of it in that light now. That makes a lot of his actions that he took during that season make a lot more sense.
Yeah. Like it's not something that happened hundreds of years ago for him. It's something that happened like maybe a decade ago.
Right.
Well, I suppose I should say he experienced who knows how much time in the Infinite Forest, but prior to the Vex mousetrap he was in, it was pretty recent that he was just he was defending the city. Literally the last thing he did before the Infinite Forest was the Battle of Twilight Gap.
Yep.
So he's very suspicious of the Elixni. And there's a particular moment, and I'm sure videos of the cutscene exist, and I highly recommend going out and finding them, But there's a moment where the Elixni ether tanks are sabotaged for House of Light, and this is a really big deal. And that is their food, essentially. That's what they need to survive. And Lakshmi essentially says, like, you know, yeah, that's too bad, but you should have expected this, because the citizens hate you. You should probably leave, more or less.
Yeah.
um,
Not so kind of words.
yeah. And then Lakshmi teleports out, and it's just Mithrax and Saint that are in this courtyard now. And Mithrax turns to Saint and tells him, "We hear her broadcasts, but more than that, we feel the energy of her words in the air, sharp as blades pointed at an enemy, at us." And Saint responds, "You cannot ask people to live alongside their monsters." And Mithrax responds, there's a cutscene that plays over this in-game. Again, go look it up because it's awesome. But the dialogue is Mithrax saying this. "Listen to me now, Saint. Let me tell you something about monsters. Once in a city grander even than yours, we prospered, but it did not last. Our great machine abandoned us, and when we pursued it, you sent something back. A creature fueled by hatred. It tore through our great houses like they were nothing, and then it came for the rest of us. Nowhere was safe from its insatiable rage. In its eyes, even the most innocent of Elixni were still fallen. It could die, but it would not stay dead. It would shake off the rot and rise again. And if it caught you in its crushing embrace, impaled you on its ragged crest, dragged you screaming into its foul shell, none lived to speak of these horrors. It called itself the Saint. My people must now see that creature every day. It sees us. If we wish to survive, we must all learn to live alongside our monsters." And that's the end of the scene.
Saint the boogeyman.
Pretty much. Yeah, he is the boogeyman for the Elixni. Because of his crusades that we talked about earlier in this series. And we get another little piece after this that is presumably like a little later in time, where Mithrax tells us, the Guardian, personally, during one of the kind of seasonal in-between dialogues, where it says, "Mithrax tells you a story about seeing Saint 14 interact with a young Elixni. The big Titan had raised a hand in greeting and seemed upset when the Elixni had recoiled and fled. He feels that telling Saint 14 about how the Elixni see him has affected the Titan, and he hopes that his words have truly reached him." And then when we have a discussion with Saint himself after this scene has played out, Saint has this to tell us. I have thought much on Mithrax's story. We do monstrous things to fight monsters. It seemed simple then. When the city first formed, Titans were the walls. We did not think of our enemies when we fought. We thought only of protecting our people. Survival until the next day, no matter how. To be seen as a terror, a destroyer. To know children tremble in fear at my name and mourn what I have taken from them. This is not the Saint 14, I know. I can never forgive what the old houses did to us, but these are not the old houses. They are dead. What do we gain from more death? This lashing out against defenseless people. It is the act of a coward. Mithrax risked much to trust us. If his house of light can forgive, perhaps we must try to see the Elixni as they see themselves, or none of us will ever be anything but monsters. We must be more than the enemies of our enemies. And that's the end of that scene.
Really coming to terms with the idea of like he did a bad, but they are willing. They are in such desperate need that they are willing to overlook that and just be like, "Look, we just want to exist." And he's seeing that point as like a beacon.
Yes. Yeah. So the events of Stephen of the Splicer happen, which culminates in the Vex being let loose on the Elixni quarter by Lakshmi and Future War Cult under the direction of Osiris, who we know, we know was Savathun at the time.
Osavathus.
But at the time, everyone thought that like Osiris had betrayed them, like that he had actively like gone crazy or something had driven him to do this.
Because in the battle, in that final battle, Mithrax and Saint are fighting with you, and Saint even says at some point in time, like, where's Osiris? I can't find him. Like, I don't know where he's gone. And so it seems like he just kind of like abandons everyone. And then at the end of it, during the cutscene where Ikora cheats, he's sitting up there like on a rooftop, like overlooking the whole thing happening. So it's not that he's missing, like he's actively trying to be like, I'm not here. So like this point in time, like the suspicion is getting real.
Yes. Yeah. So everyone is essentially a warrant for Osiris's arrest is put out by the Vanguard at this point. Say they're not outwardly calling him a traitor, but they're saying like he needs to be brought in. Saint is stoutly refusing to believe that Osiris has betrayed them in any way. And is very emotionally charged about the whole situation, as one might expect. So there's also a time period where a memorial is being held after the Vex invasion for the citizens that were caught in the initial invasion, that died both human and Elixni alike. This portion of this reading is from the chapter titled Memorial in the Book of the Endless Night, or Beneath the Endless Night lore book, um, in which we just get a little snippet from Mithrax and Saint once more. And it starts with, again, there's this memorial that's been created, and mourners are placing, little effigies and whatnot to those that were lost. And we see Saladin enter, and this is what happens. Mourners parted around the Iron Lord, respectful of his space and reputation, as he laid a handful of spent shell casings at the memorial with reverence. The offer's meaning was lost on Mithrax. When Saladin rose from the memorial, he turned and looked up at the pair on the overwatch, his face cast in shades of doubt, remorse, and uncertainty as he quietly departed. I do not know that one, Mithrax said with a look to Saint. He seems unhappy. Saint slowly shook his head. Lord Saladin, he clarified. He has lost many, lost his heart, his hope, lost so many he believes he stands alone, even when surrounded by others. I understand his pain. I see. Saint thinks on how Osiris would describe it. His cautionary tale. Mithrax hears the ache in Saint's voice. And how are you? Saint tensed at the question. The railing in his hand creaked as his grip tightened and bent the metal. I am fine, he lied. Indeed, Mithrax said with his best affectation of sarcasm, and then placed a hand on Saint's shoulder. It is not above a warrior's station to feel pain, not above a warrior's station to express spirit wounds. Mithrax's grip firmed on Saint's shoulder, reassuring, stabilizing. Not above a warrior's station to break. Saint nodded in half-hearted agreement. I should go, he said, in a tone Mithrax didn't quite understand. Thank you, Kill of Kills. You are a true friend. Go well, Saint, Mithrax said with concern. Find your lost phoenix. That's the end of that interaction.
Yeah, so really, really driving home that like Saint is trying to believe that. I don't even think Saint has convinced himself at this point, but trying to believe that Osiris is okay and isn't doing this horrible thing that has warranted his arrest.
Yeah.
So yeah, but obviously not crunching that rail like.
Yeah.
I chuckled at that. Like, yeah, everything's fine, buddy. Yeah, that railing was made that way. It's whatever. It's fine.
So.
But that like starts the witch hunt for
Yep.
Osiris, right? Which is the opening scene for Season of the Lost.
Yes. So let's say that starts the witch hunt. We discover Osiris, who very clearly is not Osiris at this point, has struck a deal with Mara Sov, to Mara will pull the worm out of Savathun, and in exchange, she will leave Osiris free and safe, quote unquote.
If any of you get a
as
chance,
repayment.
If any of you get a chance, go look up that scene, that opening scene for the season of Lost. Myth knows exactly what I'm about to reference. It's
The
googly eyes
eyebrows. Yeah.
Osiris.
It's pretty hilarious.
He does this move where he just like waves his fingers like magic, and like his eyes go all big and googly eyed, and I'm just like, okay, come the hell on. I get you
Yeah.
trying to play it up a bit, Savathun, but what the hell?
Yeah, it's pretty entertaining. But needless to say, during the season, Saint is understandably very concerned, doesn't believe that Savathun is really going to like return Osiris in one piece. And even if he doesn't believe it, he's sure as hell going to make sure she keeps that promise.
Oh yeah.
And so the events of the season happen, which are mostly focused around us helping Mara more than anything. We beat back the High Celebrants and Sivu Arath from being able to interrupt the ritual to remove the worm. The worm is removed from Savathun successfully, and Osiris's comatose body is left in her place. And he stays in that state for quite some time. There's a number of lore entries around different characters kind of helping Saint through this time. I'm not going to go over all of them for the sake of time. I will say check out the Horus Ghost Shell and the Tusked Allegiance Plate if you want to see some of those interactions. The two I'm going to focus on here are from one of them tells a story from Saint Osiris's past, and the other focuses on another person that was very deeply affected by the revelation of Osiris not being who they thought he was, or Savathun being impersonating him. So that one we're going to read first comes to us from the Hushed Syrinx ship. And it goes like this. Out of his armor, laid in a sterile bed and clothed in linen, Osiris looks thin and frail. Age wears lines into his face deeper than the trenches of Mercury. His chest rises and falls with slow breaths, and the ambient light provided by the surrounding medical equipment casts him in a pale blue shade, darkening the hollows beneath his eyes. He is a threadbare remnant of a man. In contrast, Saint 14 is a mountain. Even seated at Osiris's bedside, the Titan looms over him like a gargoyle keeping watch. He looks at Osiris's hand, seemingly tiny, cradled within his own. There is so much fear in Saint's heart, so much doubt, and so much unspoken love. Too unspoken. Never again. Saint lifts Osiris's hand to his mouth and kisses his knuckles. I'm glad you're staying, Crow says, appearing in the doorway of the medical bay. Saint stands and only offers a silent nod in response, looking back at Osiris in a moment of uncertainty. Crow gives him a look of sympathy. I understand. You do not. Saint's voice is tight, and Crow feels the shift in Saint's emotion. Not anger, but defensiveness. Tell me something. Up there, he points skyward, indicating the Leviathan in orbit over the Earth. Your doubts, your shame, they come alive? Crow looks away for a moment, distracted by turbulent memories. Yeah, he replies. That is why I do not go to help, Saint states in a firm tone. Because I know Osiris will be waiting for me up there. And I cannot bear seeing another thing wearing his face. Crow avoids Saint's gaze. He can feel the uneasy tension palpable between them still. Crow steps forward and gently places a hand on Saint's arm. And when he looks into the Exo's eyes, it is not with judgment, but empathy. Saint considers Crow's hand for a moment before drawing the hunter into an embrace. You are a good bird. Thank you. And that's the end of that card.
Oh, that's sweet.
So because this was during Season of the Haunted, which is why he's referencing like the nightmares,
Leviathan and nightmares and stuff. Yep.
And Crow is the other person that is maybe uniquely betrayed by this deception because
absolutely.
Who he thought was Osiris had been his mentor since
3 seasons. So season of the hunt, like Crow's the one that shows up and saves him, and then like he like takes him under his wing, and then like all of season of the haunt, not season of the haunt, season of the chosen, all of season of the chosen, all of season of Splicer, and then the big betrayal. Like he even goes to Mara's forbidden him to go, but he goes anyway, and he gets all of his memory back, or whatever Savathun gives him back. And so like now we're past Witch Queen, we're past that moment there, and so like this is literally like a year and a half. Like as far as him being in a coma, like that's at least easily 6-7 months of him being in a coma. So but again, before that, having almost a year of being his mentor, to be that level of betrayal, like I think Crow is also uniquely connected. Like he does. He has just as much as Saint goes, like Crow says, well, I get it. I understand what you're feeling. And he's like, you have no clue. Like he kind of does.
Right.
Just a little bit. Not maybe not on the same level as Saint, but he kind of understands.
Yeah, and it also in this like Saint is maybe implying that like their relationship hasn't solidified prior to this point, because he talks about like it's
how
unspoken.
many times he should have said it and never said.
Like they both know there's something there, but neither
one of them has acknowledged it.
Right, and
gotta shoot your shot, Saint.
Clearly Savathun put a whole monkey wrench in that thing.
Slightly.
So the second to last reading for this episode and this series.
Good God, we are going way long.
Yes, we are.
We might have should have probably made a second episode, but oh well.
Yeah, that's fine. People can just listen to it because over the Thanksgiving week. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this one is coming to us from the book Quintessence, chapter titled Devotion. And it goes like this. You brought your own cup. Devram smiled awkwardly after asking the question. A tea set balanced delicately beside him on the split log he used as a seat. From the other side of the campfire, Saint 14 looked comically oversized as he cradled a blue and white ceramic teacup in one large hand. His helmet was off, set in the dirt beside his feet. A slow smile crept across Saint's mouth as he looked at it. Not that I mind, Devram continued, and motioned with his own teacup. It's just, normally, people don't come this prepared for afternoon tea. Although yours looks like it's, seen a few fights. Though Devram chuckled, his assessment was accurate. Saint's teacup was chipped around the brim, and the handle had been broken off at one point and crudely glued back into place. Saint laughed to himself. It is a memento, he said. The cup is nothing special, but ceramic and paint. But it is the damage that makes it important. He finished his tea and offered the cup to Devram, who carefully took it to inspect. I forget where I got it. Sat on a shelf in my home long before Osiris and I lived together, before he was exiled. One day, he barges into my home, looking for an argument, Saint said, watching Devram. Osiris, he gets very heated when he is angry. Arms like this. Saint waves his arms around in pantomime. Very animated. Devram laughed as he handed Saint's teacup back. That sounds about right. We argue very loud. He accidentally knocks my teacup off the shelf and breaks it, Saint said, lowering his voice. The argument stops. We both feel bad. Osiris apologizes, I apologize. And then Saint stares into the fire. And then he touches my cheek. And his eyes say things that words cannot. He leaves. I sweep up the shards, and Saint's voice trails off into nothingness. The amusement left Devram's eyes as he looks down into the rippling surface of his tea. How is he? It was the question Devram had been afraid to ask. Saint's shoulders slouched in response. That was all the reply Devram needed. Not good, Saint confessed. He is alive, but his body is there, but his mind is not. It's like he's on a journey and cannot find his way home. Or... Saint shook his head. He honestly wasn't sure. No one was. Devram set his teacup down on the log. He rose and crossed the distance to Saint and laid a hand on the Titan's shoulder. Devram looked into Saint's vibrant, mechanical eyes with sympathy. Mark and I are having Soraya over for dinner tonight, he said with a small smile. I know it's short notice, but you should come. Saint looked away. I shouldn't. I should be with Osiris, in case he... Osiris has many people waiting by his side tonight. He isn't alone. You shouldn't be either. Devram pressed as he let his hand slip away. Dinner, please. Saint stared down at the chips in his teacup and fell deeper into the memory of that day. He would give anything to be able to live it over again, to have Osiris by his side, to have something as simple as the touch of a hand on his cheek. But that day isn't today. Okay, Saint whispered. And that's the end of that color card.
I think Devram's another unique character that again, not to like harp on anything in particular, but Devram is also a gay man in this universe. So I think he has a very unique perspective to see in regards to Saint and Osiris. Obviously, Devram and Mark are very much have expressed each love for each other. Whereas, like at this point in time, I think you're right. I don't know that Saint or Osiris have actually expressed their feelings for each other. It's
Yeah.
always been in like glances and motions and stuff. And so like the fact that he may never, like Saint may never be able to express that to Osiris is, I think, it's a clear pain point for him. Like
Right.
it's what happened to the fucking up, Smith? This is shit.
Well, that's the last down.
You better stop. You better freaking stop, because this is getting ridiculous.
Well, we know what happens after that.
I know.
What happens after that is the season of plunder, which brings us the various bits of Nezarec, which are then distilled into Nezarec tea. But so that potion is given to Osiris, and that somewhat inexplicably is able to wake him up.
It is weird that it's like, hey, let's take this darkness tea, brewed from literally pure darkness energy, and feed it to him. See what happens.
Yeah, it seems like an odd choice.
Yeah.
At the time, for sure. I guess what we know about dark is like it maybe bolstered his mental energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it brought him. It was able to bring him back.
Okay, so let's stick with that theory then, because that seems to be the most logical. Otherwise, this is just flat out fucking crazy. Like,
I mean,
they're just trying anything at this point. Like, hey, we found a bunch of jars with darkness. Let's distill him down into a tea and make him drink it, and nobody questions it. Nobody even like looks at Saint going, what? Like, even Mithrax is like, you know what? Good idea.
I think it was Mithrax's idea in the first place.
Was it Mithrax's idea? Okay, that's even crazier.
Because he and Ido were the ones studying the relics.
Like studying it. That's right. Because he wants her to like stay away from him and not like find out his past and be like, hey, I was actually a really horrible freaking pirate that killed people and didn't give a shit. So yeah, but I'm not so bad now.
It is worth noting that Mithrax and Ido both have very actively throughout, since Osiris's body was found comatose, have very actively been working and supporting Saint in trying to find a cure.
Sure.
So like it's not like they just pulled this out of nowhere. They've been
this is the
trying to figure out
of months and months and basically years, or at least a year of research.
Yep.
Okay. So it's not crazy. It's just kind of crazy. It's like, we're gonna try this and see what happens. This is they've gotten to the point of like hypothesis. They formed their hypothesis, and now they're doing experimentation, and now looking at the results to see what happens.
Yeah, they've just kind of skipped the whole like trial and went straight to human subject.
Yeah, I mean, you do what you have to do, I guess.
Yeah. But needless to say, it does work. It revives him successfully. And we from the cutscene that I'm sure is still on Bungie's channel, or if not, it is definitely elsewhere on the internet. Osiris wakes up. The first person he sees is Saint, and the two of them share a kiss.
Oh.
So
okay, good.
Yay, happy ending.
Up. And then he abandons him again to go gallivanting in life. This motherfucker. I'm saying Osiris, just chill the F out. He jumps, literally, not even a month. Like, he's rezzed and then like goes gallivanting off with Anna. That was the season. He's talking with Anna the whole time, like saying like, hey, yeah, I regret my actions, because like talking about like Anna's relationship with Elsie, and that whole time he's like, yeah, I wish I should have spent more time rather than being so focused on my work, because Anna was so focused on getting Rasputin up and running again. Of which, of course, Clovis had words to say and was like, no, you can't do that. I'm gonna be the Luca. You can't stop me. And then Rasputin was like, yeah, I'm better than you. You're just an AI tin can. Go to hell.
But so needless to say,
It
not
goes
going
gallivanting off
to
again to freaking Neomuna. This is ridiculous.
not going to cover the most recent events of Osiris in any great depth because we've all played it.
Yeah.
I assume we've probably all played it.
Hopefully you've played Lightfall. You got your 80s montage of learning Strand. That's still one of the best cutscenes. I don't care what anyone says. That fit the aesthetic so perfectly. I was like, this is the cutscene I didn't know I needed, but I'm glad I got it.
Yeah, it was a fun one. But yeah, Osiris is kind of a central point of Neomuna. He is obsessed, but during kind of the campaign of Lightfall, his character growth is coming to terms with his obsession, but it's not an obsession of like there's a big bad out there. Everyone knows there's a big bad out there at this
Yeah.
point. It's more like he feels like he needs to validate himself and his value to the Guardians now that he is mortal.
Yeah.
Now that he doesn't have a ghost or
Well,
the
because that
ability to call the light.
previous season really like pulled towards it. Like every time he was about to like go out on a mission, everyone was like, "No, no, no, it's fine. You sit in the corner." And he's
Right.
like, "Are you freaking serious? I'm still I'm still Osiris. Like, I'm me. Like, I get that I don't have the light, but come on, man. I'm still not a useless nobody. You're treating me like a frail old man on the sidelines." And I think at one point in time, even like Saint kind of made a comment or something, and he's like, "No, I can do this. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not just a frail bump on a log type thing."
Yeah, because again, Saint is very protective. Now
Oh
he's
yeah,
like, essentially is like, you will stay home
yeah,
and not leave ever.
yes, yes.
uh,
He will sit. He literally turns him into the stay-at-home dad, right? Like he's like, "You will stay home. You will cook. You can clean the house. If you're feeling antsy, go out and get groceries. Other than that, I will protect us. It's fine."
yeah.
But
So
Osiris wants none of that.
no, and so Osiris. I mean, Saint knows he left for Neomuna, but he wasn't really given Saint was
An
not given a
option,
say in
a
it. It was like,
choice.
yeah, it's like, I need to go do this.
All
You're
right,
either going to
stay
be okay
safe, I
with it or
guess.
you're not, but I'm doing it. Like, yeah. Um, so the events of Lightfall happen, after which Osiris does return to the tower, presumably to be with Saint, to spend time around Saint and the people that,
Finally
his
fulfill
little
that promise.
pseudo family. Yeah. Um, even though he's continuing his research, he's doing it from the tower. And the last reading
It better
that
be an
I
up.
want
I
to
swear to God, if you ruin this with a down,
I think you'll quite enjoy this one.
good.
So the last reading that is going to be the bookend for our series on Saint and Osiris is one focused around Saint, and Saint getting a little bit of satisfaction that comes to us from this most recent season of the Witch. And this one is from the book Rites of Passage, and it is the chapter titled Proportionality. And it goes like this. Savathun flew heavily through the shifting skies of her throne world. She struggled to build speed. Her wings seemed frustratingly stiff following her resurrection. She felt slow and uncoordinated, as if her body is not yet entirely her own. She frowned and drifted to the side, favoring her right, and did not see the spinning disk of void energy until it caught her low in the thorax and sent her tumbling to the ground. There was a terrible noise, a flash of purple metal, and then it was over. Imaru materialized in a burst of light. He looked down at Savathun, and then up at Saint 14, who stood over her body. Already? Imaru muttered in disbelief. Saint's face was hidden beneath his helmet. The lavender ribbons on his armor swayed and trailed with each heavy breath. It took him a moment to acknowledge the ghost. I heard you were in Vanguard custody, Saint said. I'm not a prisoner, Amaru sniffed. More like an insurance policy. Anyway, I could sense something happened, and Eris let me come down to check it out. Saint nodded, his focus still on Savathun. Something happened, yes, he said, and nudged the pile of broken chitin and crumpled wings with his foot. Imaru hovered close to Savathun. I'm not even going to ask, he said while channeling his light. Savathun rose to her knees. She took a raspy breath, opened her eyes, and found Saint. She smiled. Saint stopped her again. Amaru flew into Saint's face. All right, he shouted. You've made your point. Saint wiped the steaming ichor from his visor with a thumb and gestured to Savathun's remains. Again, he said pointedly. Yeah, I don't think so, Amaru replied and initiated his transmat. But Saint suddenly flared with void energy, and he threw his palms to his side, and a violet Ward of Dawn dome burst from him. Amaru felt it ripple through him like a pressure wave, disrupting his transmission. He bobbed unsteadily. He was unable to see, but he could feel, and now Saint's armored hand gripped him so tightly that a hairline split ran through his shell. You will bring her back, Saint said. I'm getting a little tired of you people threatening to kill me, Amaru said into the muffled void. Saint's fist loosened by a fraction. You will bring her back, and I give my word that you and she will both leave when I'm finished. When you're finished, Amaru echoed, and he felt Saint release him. He sensed for Savathun's form hidden in the blackness. He grimaced, focused his light, and Savathun began to rise once more. Savathun, Saint said, and killed her again. You are very new to resurrection as a light bearer. In the beginning, there is weakness when you first come back, like waking from a deep sleep, from a coma. That is why I can best you. You are still unsteady. You are Hive, and you know suffering. You come from death. It is nothing to you. But I think, maybe, you do not know how it feels to be helpless. I will teach you. After a long, long time, Saint was finished. The dome vanished, exposing the Exo, the Ghost, and the God to the murky throne world sky. Saint slowly keyed in his transport request and removed his helmet. As he transmatted out, he looked once more at Savathun. This was not for Osiris, he said, his voice hoarse and ragged. This was for me. That's the end of that card.
He did what. Okay. Yep. I was waiting as soon as you paused the one time. I was like, he's gonna say again, isn't he? Yep. And there he goes. Yep. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
good up. Good up.
Saint got
he did to
some
her
revenge.
What every Guardian did to Crow.
Pretty much, yeah.
Just beat her over and over. And Amaru just had to sit there and be like, Res, fuck. Res, fuck. Just over and over and over again.
And I think that it's probably accurate to say, regardless of her lifespan and of her scheming machinations, I like to think that in this moment,
maybe she learned a lesson.
I don't care if she learned a lesson or not, but I think in this moment, she truly did feel helpless.
Oh yeah. Like she got spawn camped is what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For who knows how
long. Like there was no timer on this match. This was just you're getting spawn camped. Suck to suck.
But with that, we have caught up to current events in game.
We totally should have done 2 episodes, Smith.
Yeah, we should have, but yeah, it's all right.
Okay.
And we have completed our series on Saint and Osiris.
Alrighty. Well, let's do some quick shout outs and we will close this thing out.
Yeah, so say two shout outs that we've got this time. One of them is coming to us from Twitter. Says, "You guys are my new favorite podcast. I started with the Bray series and fell in love with the style that you do this. Would you guys ever go back to do episodes on each raid or dungeon? I'd love to hear more about Vogue and Grasp of Avarice specifically. Thank you both. Keep it up."
If you want notes on Vogue, go listen to our Vex series. We covered
There's a lot of notes on Vogue there
extensively in our Vex series. Grasp we haven't touched yet. We haven't do a Grasp episode. We have done we've done Spire, we've done Deep. We'll do the new one that's coming in like 2 weeks.
Yep.
So yeah, we might go back and look at some of these and do the lore in there. Grasp of Avarice is actually a pretty fun one. There's a really fun story going on there. It's essentially Goonies.
I mean, yeah, like it is.
It's just Goonies. That's all it is.
So just you could just watch.
Just go watch Goonies. There's Grasp of Avarice lore. You're done.
Yep.
No, it's more than. God damn it! It really is just kind of Goonies. Goonies and the insanity that goes with it.
It's definitely one that they had fun with. It's definitely one that had very clear inspirations from Goonies.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely not outside of the realm of possibility that's one we'll do. I just couldn't tell you when exactly.
Yeah. Full schedule for now.
yeah, we've got stuff planned out for a little while, which is part of the reason why this episode ended up going long. Was because it really a part 5 doesn't really fit anywhere in the next upcoming weeks with the new season and dungeon and all that coming out, and the holidays and all that. So, but regardless, I say thank you. I'm glad that you enjoy it.
We will keep it up.
We will absolutely keep it up. Vogue is already in our Vex stuff.
Yep.
I think we've covered all of the other raids.
Shattered Throne would be in all of would be in the
Dreaming City, the Awoken history. Yep, we did talk about Shattered Throne and the Awoken history.
Have we ever done Pit?
I don't think we did Pit.
I don't know. We covered Pit.
There wasn't. Yeah, I don't remember there being all
Pit,
that much.
Pit might be another
story.
Good one to do.
Yeah, that'd be one to dig into.
We did a little prophecy with 9, I think.
Yep,
maybe.
we did a little bit of prophecy with the 9.
Maybe Drifter's story.
Yeah, I think a little bit maybe in both of those. So
it's
out there.
All the other dungeons.
I know it's definitely out there. It is a little it's usually parts of other things.
They didn't really have complete stories until Spire and
yeah, I think Deep. Spire really and Ghosts were the first 2.
I keep calling it Deep. Is it? I guess it's Ghost of the Deep, isn't it?
Ghost of the Deep. Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Well, then I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
God. Oh my God.
But no. So
there's a hive god at the bottom of it. Oh my God.
I mean, it's almost like they planned it.
They planned it.
It's like they make the names for these things.
Weird. Weird.
But no. So thank you. Say the second shout out for tonight comes to us actually from our email. This one comes to us from Kiefer Trey Thank you for the pronunciation.
They put pronunciation in the email. I was like, what the fuck? This is awesome.
Yes, that is incredibly helpful.
Kiefer tray, is that what it is?
Kiefer tray, yes.
Kiefer tray, okay.
But they say, you both continuously breathe new life into this game and its story for me every week. I am always amped when I see a new episode has dropped. Myth is a fantastic storyteller, and Zor is always able to make me grasp key points with his commentary when I am vexed. Haha.
I try. I try to break. Oh, I see what you did there. Ha.
From a Arc Warlock main and his well-locked brother in arms, thank you.
Yay! Arc Warlocks are actually secret titans. Nobody will admit this. I will admit this. Arc Warlock main titans, like if you that statement made sense. If you are an Arc Warlock main, you are a secret titan.
That might just be you projecting.
You have to accept it. You have to accept it, damn it.
It might just be you.
It might just be me.
But regardless, I say thank you. I'm glad to see that that you're enjoying it and that we can help bring some more joy into the game itself that we all know and love.
Myth does all the hard work.
I do the researchy bits and the editing bits and the social media. Yeah.
Myth does the hard work. Yeah, that's it. That's all there is to it. He just has me so I can like bounce crazy stuff, and he can go, no, let me correct that and make it a better theory, and then we'll put that one out there, and then that theory ends up being the right theory.
Oh, you have plenty of theories of your
I do. I had that one night where I had like 3 of them in a row, and they were all like really good, and they really actually worked. I was very happy with myself, but I used up like all my theory crafting in one episode, and so now I've got to wait. It's got a longer recharge timer than like, I don't know, Chaos Reach. Wait, no, what's the longest super?
Well, you figure that out.
Longer than that. Longer the amount of time it's going to take to remember what the longest super is.
Yeah. But no, so thank you to everybody that's listening. If you like what you heard and you want to support us in some way, just leave a review on your platform of choice. And say just however many stars you think that we're doing. If your platform allows for a text review and you feel strongly enough to leave one, we love reading those. Alternatively, you can reach out to us on Twitter at Myths and Stories, Z instead of an S in Stories. Or we are also now opening up an email that you guys can send stuff to if you would rather do that instead. And that is just mythsandstories@gmail.com. And you may see yourself as a future shout out.
Yeah. Well, I guess I got to thank you. He's not ready for this, guys and gals, but I'm going to do it. Thank you, Myth, for doing all the hard work, for putting in all the extra hours, and being as awesome as you are.
Oh, that was like a real one.
Yeah.
No, I was not ready for that.
You didn't know what to do with that, did you?
I don't. That's nice. Thanks.
Confusion ensues.
All
right. Anything else, Myth? Now that I've thoroughly confused you.
That's it.
Okay, then. Well, sorry this one went a little long, but I guess before I finish this out, one quick reminder. Next week for us U.S. peoples is Thanksgiving, and Myth and I will not be recording. So, no episode next week. That's why we went a little long this week. But yeah, from all of us lore daddies to all of you guardians out there, we'll see you when we see you.